how they see the market as a whole. I'm not going to bore you reading through it, but I did think it was an interesting read. Again, they're just 2 one-pagers. Put them in there in case, if you're convenient, you want them to kind of peruse and get their take on how they see everything. So we just want to do that.
Item 7. Review and approve of the general police provided 2024 actuarial evaluation.
That's me. Good afternoon, everybody. I will keep this pithy. I bring out my phone because I store the evaluation reports on PDF. You have them in your packets, but I like to verbally give you 2 main takeaways for each report, and then just get you to approve them. And I will give you, for each one, the city's contribution requirement, how much the city needs to put in for each pension plan, and also an update on the plan's funded status. So I didn't flip my 3-headed coin, and I don't know what order they are in your packet, but I have the police pension plan I pulled up first. But Melissa, if they're different parts, if they're in different order, then I'm happy to do that as well.
I didn't get the packet in order.
Okay. Then I'll just read them to you. They're thick reports, but the thickness is not for the trustees, it's really for the auditors, for the reviewing actuaries in Tallahassee and so on. So here it is, starting with the police plan. The police plan, as a reminder, is closed, it's retiree only. And we come each year to let you know how much the city's contribution requirement needs to be. It does change a little bit every year based on experience. And it's very, very stable. So the contribution for the police plan for this current fiscal year is $17,513. In comparison, it was $17,540 last year. So basically unchanged. The funded status for the police plan grew from 127.6% to 128.4%. What that means is the plan is overfunded. It's done very well historically. There's more money in the trust fund than is needed to pay out benefits. The only reason that there's a contribution requirement is by statute, the city has to reimburse the administrative expenses every year. So that's what the $17,000 is. All right, so before I move on to the next report, can I answer anything on police? Okay. So let's go with general. Now, good news here is that the city's contribution is going down for this year. For this fiscal year, the city's requirement for the general plan is $318,486. Last year, the requirement was $341,876. So it went down. Now, the reason it went down almost entirely is you had 2 retirees pass away. And that was more, with a small plan, we expect somebody to pass away every few years or so. When you have 2 in the same year, that's more than expected. So really that's the explanation of why the city's requirement went down. And with that experience, the funded status increased from 83% to 88%. So any questions for the general plan? Okay, so we have one left, fire. The contribution actually had an increase, but it's minor in compared to the general. It's $48,174 for the current year for the city. Last year at this time, I reported 30,326, so $1,000 increase. The reason for the increase is we did some inquiries because we saw larger than expected, we call it a salary increase, but really what it comes down to is more move from volunteer status into full-time. So because there's more full-time, they are paid more than volunteers, and that really explains why the increase. The funded status for the fire plan did take a hit. It went from 4 down to 88. And again, that's just because of the moving from volunteer to full-time status. But there's no concern. That's normal. When you have a volunteer plan, from year to year, you can get some real, varying experiences one way to the next. But I have no particular concern about that. So any questions for fire department?
No.
Okay, so we're at the point now where we need some approvals. So first, let's go ahead. I don't know how you want to do it. If you want to deal with each of the 3 reports separately, or just one that run together.
Individually.
Okay.
So at this point, for the approval of we'll start with general, as it is in our agenda. The general plan, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve we have a motion. The motion is, would you clarify your motion, please?
Approve the general plan. Second.
So we have a motion to approve and a proper second, for the general, plan. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? None, motion carries. At this time, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the police, valuations.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the police 2024 actual evaluation.
We have a proper motion, is there a second? Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the police 2024 actuarial valuation. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. And our final approval will be for the fire pension valuation.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the fire 2024 actuarial valuation.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the fire 2024 actuarial valuation. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Okay,
Thank
one
you.
other exercise, and make it real quick for you. The state actuary requires every year when you approve what you just did, valuation report, you have to do something called a declaration of returns. The understanding, the background to this is the reviewing actuaries and the Division of Retirement want some feedback that the pension boards they're actively thinking about their investment assumptions. So there's a form letter that gets sent out every year. I give my boards the language because no one memorizes it, except for those of us who do 80 of these a year. So I'll say it, and then somebody's got to say so moved, and then you have to vote. For the next year, the next several years, the long term thereafter, the board expects, I'll give you all 3, a 6.75% return for police, 6.5% for fire, 6.5% for general. Somebody needs to say,
So moved.
when you vote on.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second.
Declaration of return.
Thank you. For approval of the declaration of return as stated at said percentages. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Okay, well done, the actuary. I appreciate your time as always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So was that actually the set expected rate of return? Okay, thank you. So now we're at item 9, plan administrator comments.
I only have one, but it's one that I don't think will matter to you all, because I assume you all have already done it. Most of our plans, I have to remind of this, but I assume you all are already all doing your Form 1 financial disclosures anyway. So if you were just on the pension board only, you're not serving in the other capacity, you have to do one for being on a pension board, but I think for you all, you're already taken care of.
Thank you for that.
Yes, that's much more important for us.
All right, and then item 9.1 for one reminder, that was the reminder, correct? All right, 10, trustee comments, Nicole?
I have none.
Any public comments pertaining to pension?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for speaking in the microphone.
Yes, sir.
Interstate 613 Northeast State Street, Newport News. Mr. Mayor, did you get graphs with along the numbers that show you different funds on some kind of a bar graph or something?
Yes, we're provided that, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
If no further public comments, we'll move on to item 12. The next scheduled meeting is September 9th, 2025, starting at 5:30, correct? All right. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our pension board. We have a motion. Second. And a proper second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Don't get drenched. All right, at this time, I would like to say good evening to everyone and welcome to our regular City Commission meeting, Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. And we will begin at 6:02. Roll call, City Clerk.
Mayor Marion,
Present.
Vice Mayor Scout,
Present.
Commissioner McCutcheon,
Present.
Commissioner Williams,
Here.
Commissioner Watt.
Present. Okay, so at this time, we will have our invocation by Commissioner McCutcheon. And following that, we ask that you all stand and we will have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we come this evening to handle the affairs of the city of Fort Meade. We thank you for our time to come together as a community, to hear, to learn, to grow. We ask for wisdom for every decision that comes before this board tonight. And we ask, oh Father God, that you will be with us and guide and order every step that we take. Father God, we give you glory and we give you honor for the things that should be done here and said here tonight that will bring your name glory, that will bring your name honor. And all things that shall be said and done will be done so in decency and in order. And your name will be glorified and praised. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to thank Commissioner McCutcheon for that invocation. At this point, we will move on to item D, additions and or deletions.
I do have an addition to the agenda. Item number 02, it'll be under City Manager. It is a SWOT analysis of the first 90 days here in Fort Meade. So I'll share these copies. I have one for everyone to include the clerk and the city attorney, and they'll come around to you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're great. Thank you. You see us. Okay, so with that addition, I'll entertain a motion. for the, I do have a point of question. I see it says amended resolution. For bid, does that need to be acknowledged as a change, or I see it's in red?
No, it's the minimum.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Mayor, I move to add item O2, SWOT analysis report of the city manager to the agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second to add, item 002, SWOT analysis, under the report of the city manager. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. And with that, we're going to move on to item E, which is the proclamation, presentations, awards, and reports. E1, proclamation proclaiming June 23rd through 27th, 2025 as Boys and Girls Club Week. Who's doing the proclamation? Well, we provided the proclamation. No?
Here, I can say that.
I got it. I got it. So at this point, there we go. All right. This is all to be read. So proclamation for the city of Fort Meade, Florida, Polk County. Whereas the Boys and Girls Club of Polk County is at the forefront of youth development and serves as a safe haven and opportunity hub for all young people, especially those who need us most. And whereas the Boys and Girls Club of Polk County recognizes that the health, well-being, and future success of our children is shared community responsibility. And whereas children's abilities, confidence, and aspirations can be nurtured through supportive programs and positive environments that prepare them to thrive physically, emotionally, and professionally. And whereas the Boys and Girls Clubs of Polk County help ensure that our young people have access to resources, offering them a safe and supportive place to go, and providing them with quality programs. And whereas the Boys and Girls Club of Polk County will celebrate National Boys and Girls Club Week 2025, along with some 5,000 other clubs and more than 4 million young people worldwide, in an effort to promote great futures for our youth. Now therefore, I, Samuel Berrien, Mayor of the City of Fort Meade, do hereby proclaim the week of June 23rd through 27th as Boys and Girls Club Week in the City of Fort Meade, and call on all citizens to join me in recognizing and commending the Boys and Girls Club of Polk County for providing comprehensive, high-quality services to the young people of this community. Do you have a presentation?
I did not, and we will get into.
Okay. Could you introduce yourself and tell us what you do at the Boys and Girls Club? Go ahead, just talk into it.
My name is Ashley Ray. I'm the Vice President of Development for Boys and Girls Club of Polk County. So my main function with Boys and Girls Club is to raise funds to ensure that the program is free to all of our participants. We strive to provide a quality program that is not prohibitive to any families based on income or any life circumstances like that. We're happy to have over 70 kids so far this summer participating in our Fort Meade Club. I know they were on some field trips today, so we're excited for a very fun summer and happy to be able to provide services here at Fort Meade.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Thank you. And someone will get with you to provide that with information. You're welcome. Okay, so we're going to move on to item E2, proclamation proclaiming June as Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder PTSD Awareness Month. And we have representative from the VFW. Can you introduce yourself for us?
My name is Lisa Weems, and I am with Post 11179 here in Fort Meade. I am retired military, 20 years, and my husband also served 28 years, and he since has passed. But I was the quartermaster at the post itself, and I'm just involved to try to make community awareness for our post. We do community outreach. We try to we take care of our veterans. Anybody that can't get assistance, they'll come to us and we'll give them the assistance that they need. If they're a veteran, they have to be a veteran in order to receive cash. However, we do a lot of community outreach. We help any of the like the Boys Club or any other event that we can assist with for our youth, because our youth is our future. So I thank you all very much for recognizing June as a PTSD month. Thank you for letting me.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. The proclamation will be read by Commissioner McCutcheon.
Proclamation, City of Fort Meade, Florida, Polk County. Whereas post-traumatic stress disorder is a serious mental health condition that can develop after experiencing or witnessing a terrifying event, such as combat, natural disasters, accidents, or violent crime. And whereas PTSD affects millions of Americans from all walks of life, including military service members, veterans, first responders, and civilians. And whereas individuals living with PTSD may experience a range of debilitating symptoms, including flashbacks, nightmares, severe anxiety, and uncontrollable thoughts about the event, significantly impacting their lives daily, relationships, and overall well-being. And whereas despite the widespread impact of PTSD, many individuals suffer in silence due to the stigma, lack of understanding, or limited access to effective treatment. And whereas it is crucial to raise public awareness about PTSD, its symptoms, and the availability of effective, evidence-based treatments and support services to encourage those affected to seek the help they need and deserve. And whereas fostering a compassionate and understanding community that recognizes the challenges faced by individuals with PTSD is essential for their healing and recovery. And whereas the City of Fort Meade is committed to supporting the mental health and well-being of all its residents, including those who have bravely served our nation and community, and those who have endured traumatic experiences. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Mayor and the City Commission of the City of Fort Meade, Florida, that June is hereby designated as PTSD Awareness Month in the City of Fort Meade. The City of Fort Meade encourages all citizens to take time on this day to learn more about PTSD and show support for those who are suffering and help reduce the stigma associated with mental health conditions. We extend our deepest gratitude to our veterans, service members, first responders, and all individuals who courageously live with PTSD, and we recommit ourselves to supporting their journey toward healing and a better quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to just say one last thing before I go. I would like to say thank you here, Mr. Dumbo, for being our most recent member of the VFW, for signing up and giving us some support. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If anybody's a VFW, a veteran foreign war, please join, okay? I had to get rid of my advertisement.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Let's see here. At this time, we will move to item F, public forum. For each person addressing the commission shall sign in with the city clerk no later than 6:05. Person shall step up to the microphone, shall give his or her name and address in an audible tone of voice for the record, and unless further time is granted by the commission, shall limit their address to 3 minutes. All remarks shall be addressed to the commission as a body and not to any member thereof. No person other than the members of the commission having the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussion, either directly or through members of the commission. And we will have it read off, Melissa.
Yes, sir. Mr. James Spate.
My name is Dan Spake, 613 Northeast Third Street here at Fort Meade. I met a young man this April on Turkey Country. We have every year for Windy Warden. And you think this man was completely okay. In the service, he had a lot of both feet blown off, and every day he lived with that memory. His trouble is he cannot drive anywhere by himself. He has to have somebody with him, know what he just did. Last week I received a call about a person here in the city who had been dismissed. And immediately I was angry, I was upset, I was shocked, and I've known this person probably 7 or 8 years prior to been working in the city, and I was ready to go back. But my wife reminded me, you don't really know what happened. You don't know all the facts. I've made a few calls. I appreciate the people who took my call. I've always believed that a person's flaws are sacred, especially if they have gotten to the age where they have retirement approved. And we need to do everything we can to keep those people. The school system used to have a program called the NEAT procedure. Notice, evaluation, assistance, and time before we terminate it. So, through my calls, through several discussions with 3, 4, 5 people, I feel comfortable that there is a pathway to this person being reinstated. And I hope that comes to fruition. I also got a call last week about a complaint against a higher level staff member. I didn't know the facts about that. I have found out since that there is an agency. Actually, what went on was one staff member made a complaint about another staff member, and that goes to HR, et cetera. I did find out that the city belongs to an organization whereby we get an attorney provided through that organization or a specialist and to help resolve that issue, that conflict. And I do know that that is ongoing right now. And what I'd like to get across, I know that there's a lot of people like me that get upset and they get angry. And I know that there's probably others here tonight that want to speak. And I hope that we can be civil. I hope that we can realize that everybody has issues one way or the other. And currently we have a project with the data center possibly coming to Fort Meade. I hate to see the city of Fort Meade falling apart with controversy and us, acting out here tonight and being upset and rude and those kind of things. And so, no matter what what goes on tonight, no matter what kind of decisions are made, this is an ongoing thing that I have no control over. And you as city commissioners probably have no control over. And we'll still be here in a moment. So I hope that we can all remember that data center is a financial thing to the best of our
Mr. Spade,
life.
that's 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Moving forward and not get that public.
Thank you, sir.
Just give us time.
Same. Thank you, sir. Any others?
Do you want me to set it for 4 minutes? Or?
3 minutes.
Okay. Mr. Jan Gagnon?
Jan Bagnell, 905 Third Street Northeast. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Commissioners. Before you tonight, this evening, on behalf of more than 30 residents who have actually asked me to speak and raise awareness of a serious issue that demands your immediate attention. I'm going to be reading this statement word for word to eliminate anyone from misconstruing this statement as having half truths, which I know people will in this room. And we providing a hard copy for minutes if needed. It's a rare opportunity for this commission to act with integrity and transparency, something that did not happen in 2 previous similar instances. I've been made aware that more and more firms place a file of complaint against the interim city manager. If true, this matter must be addressed promptly and appropriately. Unfortunately, past complaints also alleging misconduct by the interim city manager and members of this commission were ignored. Those whistleblower complaints were submitted directly to the full commission and the city attorney instead of being investigated or even acknowledged. The employees who filed them were subsequently terminated under questionable circumstances. Both are now pursuing active lawsuits against the city of Fort Meade and again after an allegation against the city manager or city employee has been terminated. It'll be time to see how those cases are resolved. If the court finds in their favor, that outcome will reflect not only the individuals involved, but on the actions or inactions of this commission as a whole. Any complaint that involves allegations against high-level officials, whether the city manager, commissioners, or city attorney, qualifies for employee protections and full investigation. These are not minor grievances. They demand a formal review. When complaints are ignored, it sends a clear message to employees. Speaking up leads to retaliation, not resolution. That puts the city at significant legal and financial risk. City leadership has the legal and ethical obligation to investigate such allegations. Their responsibility cannot be delegated, denied, or ignored. The severity of the accusation dictates that this commission of the city's legal counsel must respond decisively. Some may try to deflect by referencing my tenure as city manager, suggesting I was subject to similar accusations. Let me be clear, there were no formal complaints, no written allegations submitted to the commission or legal counsel, no ethical charges filed against me, and on multiple occasions I even offered, please file the complaint. If this commission ignores the current allegations as it has before, those in support of bearing the complaint do not deserve to serve as a city commission. In conclusion, I urge you to do what is right, what is lawful, protect and support the city's employees, demonstrate the city supports those who raise legitimate concerns. Do not cover it up or ignore it again. Act now, not just to reduce legal exposure, but to build trust and integrity in our local government that has been seriously impacted by your lack of action in previous complaints. Thank you. And now I'll go ahead and hand this.
Anyone next? Alyssa?
Sergeant Lynch? No, you're good? Mr. Curtis Bankston?
As we said in North Carolina, I guess this is not my 46th year standing here. I will say this, not necessarily this position, but over the years, I've heard a lot of approvals on this, and approvals on that. I won't say I've never heard of approvals out there. It's still known for that there will be approvals there. Not really. I did. And I'm not talking about this commission. I mean, there's so much going on. We need to have CDBG start that money coming from wherever slums and invited areas. But we, for some reason, that's been replaced by CRA. Okay. CRA, community redevelopment. How you gonna redevelop a community that's never been developed? Our community never has been, you can't redevelop it. the first step is development. You know, and there's things going on out there right now. People buying cars, leaving some of the land, trees have been cut down, but the roots didn't come up with them. All right, but the roots were dug deep upon the way down in the ground. Okay, because they didn't have the proper equipment to get them out. I carried somebody out there from the city to look at that. Then I had the police to come out, look at, since they couldn't get the roots out of the ground and dug so deep a hole, they were bringing stuff out there, putting it in the ground, in that hole. That's when I called the police department. They're leaving cars out there, not hiding them out there. Nobody comes through. Nobody comes through to check. I'm talking about no single member, no at-large member. Don't come through to check. I mean, police will ride through occasionally, but nobody else comes to check. We can't do an approval on that. That is the state highway. I don't know what the state's responsible for. But we really need sidewalks out there. We definitely need that. There's a lot of more things we need too. But we can just get sidewalks, new street lights, and a couple of little roads down there cleaned up, then that'll be nice. We do appropriate money to do roads in the city. Well, I think we live in the city too. I'm not sure, but I think we are. So we need somebody to bring some kind of complaint. Don't go and ride and look and search and see. So, it's a skill for me. We should do something about that. That's what we need somebody. That's what we need somebody to do. And I'm not talking about no one person, no two, anybody. Just give us some representation.
Mr. Banks, that's your 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Barbara Arnold.
Good evening.
Barbara Arnold, 624 Street Northeast. I was hoping to get an idea of when a Main Street crossover lights are to be repaired. If not, please take them down. It's been many months that Main Street lights look shabby. And for those of us that live here, it's embarrassing. There's more lights out than working. I'd also like to know what is the status of the Patterson Park FERDAP $200,000 grant and the Peace River FERDAP $200,000 grant. Can you hear me now?
Keep going. It might be a technical issue. Just keep going.
Okay. Yeah, put my time back up, please. What is the status of the CRA lottery? Where is the CRA annual 2025 report? What current projects are underway of the CRA efforts? It's been years since any CRA activity has taken place, and when will the residents see any traction? Is it true that the CRA funds were used to buy meals for the out-of-school children? And can you provide me with section of the CRA plan that allows that? I am formally requesting the public record of the current interim vice manager's contract. That's my record.
Ms. Arnold, what you said, the Main Street lights, I got that one, the CRA lottery, and what you said after that part? After the CRA lottery?
Peace River. Annual 2025 report.
I got the FERDAP and the Peace River project.
Yes, and I've asked that several times, and I still haven't got an answer to it.
Patterson. Thank you. Next person.
Ms. Shawna Nelson?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nelson, 425 South Country Avenue, Fort Meade. I'm here to address the commission on behalf of my son Xavier Johnson, who is hosting a team back to college.
Seminar.
It's up to College Readiness Summit. The date of the event is July 15th at 2 p.m. Xavier is a 2018 graduate of Fort Meade High School. He's a 2023 graduate of Florida A&M University. He's hosting this event to shed light to help prepare college kids going off to college, and also to provide resources to parents to help with financial support. Xavier is asking for a sponsorship from the city to assist with this event.
Okay, thank you, and, I don't know if we have what is currently in our budget. We don't have that. Okay, so someone will be in contact with you. We got your information on file.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Sheila Riley.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to ask.
Name and address for
Oh,
that.
sorry. Sheila Riley, 425 South French Avenue, Fort Detroit. I would like to ask that there be an internal investigation within City Hall. It seems the City Hall continuously is the epicenter of all drama. Someone or some people are providing fellow citizens with information, and some of this information is confidential. I'm greatly concerned if the city doesn't address these employees, whomever they are, it might get into some real legal issues, as stated, because apparently 30 people call of visiting the city. So apparently some information inside is being leaked outside, and we need to put a stop to it. So I ask that there is an internal investigation. As you know, we have a full house tonight. I'm sure it's all around the allegations or whatever's been spread around town. I just ask that we remember there's always multiple sides. Many of us elected a president that's been convicted of certain allegations as well. So we keep this in mind as well as we address all the things that people want answers to. I don't know where some of us get off thinking that we deserve to know all the answers to everything that goes on within City Hall. But I do think there is a leak somewhere within the City Hall. It needs to be addressed. I mean, it's drama after drama. It gotta stop somewhere, and I think it's time for an internal investigation, and it's time for whoever's continuing to leak information to cease doing that somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Ms. Pamela Clark.
Good evening, Pamela Clark, Clark, 08 Sherwood Drive. Each meeting we begin with a prayer, and it's very interesting because John 8:7 talks about the story when the people decided to throw stones at the one who committed adultery. And it was at that time, Yeshua, they were asking him, what are you going to do? And he said, he who is without sin has the first stone. And one thing that is very prevalent in Fort Meade, especially, City Hall in a small town, and all of the puppets, is that there are a lot of stone throwers. So I'm going to say this. If we're going to begin our meetings with prayer and have these humble hearts and bowed heads, we have to believe in something, or are we doing it out of protocol and practice? Because I can stand here and say, I am ready tonight, Mr. Mayor and Entrance City Rungo, to submit every piece of information that I have. As the kids say, I do have receipts. I can tell you tonight, as I stand at this microphone, who, which I didn't know you were going to say, Shayla, who your leak is. And you guys have taken an oath and a promise to uplift the laws, the policies, the charter, and the procedure. And what we have come to do is we have become extremely comfortable behind closed doors, having these, what we think are secret conversations.
But I am here to tell you, they are not. Now, I don't know what you're accustomed to in Fort Meade when it comes to those of you that sit here, because some of you have been sitting for a long time, and there have been others that have sat before you. And what I'm noticing is there have probably never been as many complaints as there have been now. And I can tell you why, because there's 3 to 2. And I'll let the smarties figure that out. Now, I'm not easy to shut up. What's the problem?
Address us.
No.
Ms. Ward, all the
Excuse me,
commission.
Mr. Mayor, I am going to address you,
Thank you.
but I need you to control this room. And that's what I'm asking.
Agreed.
Because when she stood here, not one word was mumbled. And
Correct,
if there's a problem, you have a sheriff and she can be asked to leave.
correct,
Now, I deserve to be respected,
correct.
and I'm going to reclaim my time.
Keep going,
That's how that works.
keep going.
So as I was saying, I'm not easy to keep quiet and I'm not easy to shut up or lay down. We have to be more transparent. We have to have integrity. That comes from the left side of the room as well as the right side of the room. Because I can tell you even too, for some of us that are employed with the city, we are not all Charlie's Angels. I can attest to that because I too have proof to that. Intentionally targeted, both on a business side and a professional side. So when we stand here and we ask for
Ms.
people-
Ward, I gave you additional 20 seconds.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
I'll send you a call, Barbara. Yeah, I will.
Listen, please, we need to maintain order and civility,
We
okay?
do.
Thank you, thank you. All right, next person. All right, at this point, we're gonna close the public hearing and move on to, public forum. I'm gonna write all on this thing. And move on to item G, approval of the minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the minutes from May 13, 2025 regular commission meeting.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from May 13, 2025. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. There is nothing under consent agenda, and we move on to item I, resolutions. I-1. All right.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Meade, Florida, authorizing the city to enter into a piggyback agreement for the lease of multifunction devices, related services pursuant to the State of Florida negotiated NASPO Value Point contract with Toshiba America Business Solutions, Inc. through its authorized dealer, copy filed for a term of 48 months, providing for an effective date.
All right, so the city of Fort Meade currently operates under a 48-month lease and maintenance agreement for its fleet of copiers. CopyLife has been the provider. CopyLife has been the provider for this contract, which commenced in 2021.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
City Manager. I'm asking that everyone at this point, our public forum has been closed, so there should not be any discussing amongst each other in there. I'm trying my best not to call on our newly appointed sergeant here, so he get well acquainted with anyone that's volunteering their time to come here and support the process of our commission. All right, so we don't want you to get to know him in that magnitude, okay? So if we could respect that, we'll move on. If not, we will begin to ask individuals to exit, okay? Thank you.
Yes, sir. So CopyLife has been a provider for this contract. This particular contract commenced in 2021. It ended June 1st, 2025. And so, as the city attorney mentioned, the state of Florida has already negotiated these prices to streamline the contracts. And the city has been using the same vendor since 2015. So, what we're looking for today is approval of this lease renewal for 48 months. I want you to know that over the life of the 48-month agreement, this lease is in the amount of $35,209.92. And this is actually less than the previous 48-month lease by $1,247. So, staff is looking for, staff recommends approval of this particular contract, and staff stands for any questions.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the state of Florida negotiated contract to lease Toshiba copiers from CopyLife Incorporated for 48 months.
Second. We have a motion and a proper second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to resolution 02.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Meade awarding the bid for FDOT Street Paving Project for repaving of approximately 3.0 miles of city streets, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
So this resolution is associated with the RFP, the request for proposal for professional services for the design and construction associated with repaving of approximately 3 miles of city roadway. This RFP was issued April 16, 2025 with a submission deadline of May 20th, 2025. On May 20th, 2 bids were received in response to the city's advertisement for bids. On June 2nd, our engineer, Midtower, provided the city staff with the engineer's recommendation for award. That recommendation was for Ajax Paving Industries of Florida. Their proposal was deemed lowest and most responsive with a bid in the amount of $955,000, $227.60. This portion of the project will be paid for by state grant funding, and upon approval by the City Commission, staff will proceed to finalize that contract with the firm and schedule an initial meeting to discuss the timeline and requirements for the project. Staff recommends approving this bid award to Ajax Paving Industries of Florida, LLC. Staff stands for any questions.
Can you specify the areas where road improvements will take place? How much?
Sure. So I do have the locations, and I want you to keep in mind that the original scope was reduced because it was approximately 7 miles of roadway initially, but because of the cost and the inflation, we had to modify that. So the roadways are 1st Street Northeast, 2nd Street Northeast, 6th Street Northeast, Wood Ave, Kunkel Ave, Oak Ave, Church Ave, and Washington Ave. And so we have those plans, and we can provide the actual cross sections that will be repaid within this project.
Could you repeat those again, please?
Yes, sir. It's a portion of 1st Street Northeast, 2nd Street Northeast, 6th Street Northeast, Boyd Ave, Kunkel Ave, Oak Ave North, Church Ave North, and Washington Ave South. And we have approximately 1.5 miles of this roadway, as I've been told, is located within the CRA. So I'll stand for questions and let Casey and Will weigh in if she has any additional feedback.
Yeah, I do have one additional question. What was the process, or how the determining factor of where the road improvement would take place? As you stated, it was initially 7 miles and reduced to 3 miles for funding. What was the determining factor of where the work would begin?
So the blank specs were issued by Midtower engineers, and in the issuance of the specs, and I can share that with you. We have an electronic file.
Okay.
I can do that from my phone actually. The amount of paving that had to be done could not be done with the amount of the grant now. And so it was reduced as a result of matter of the roads that were needing repaving.
And so I want to be more specific in support of what AC and Wheeler are saying, because she's saying exactly that the engineers were looking at it and they determined which sections would need to be repaved. So I think at a previous meeting we discussed it, we talked a little bit about level of service. And each roadway should maintain a certain level of service. And I'm almost confident the engineers took that into consideration when they were looking at the particular components and the cross sections that needed to be repaved.
Understood, and I want to be more pointed with my question and the reasoning for my question. Historically, there have been areas of the town that have been neglected while others were attended to. So I want the public to be able to hear and understand the reasoning these specific roles were chosen to do the work. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Please, yeah, come to the mic, please.
Oh, no, I got one right
You
here.
know what?
Yeah.
Great.
Technology.
I forgot. Go ahead, bro.
So I know a little bit about this because before Jackie took over this department, there was another gentleman, I can't recall his name. So a consultant had consulted with them and made recommendation on, and done a study on what roads and everything. That was the information that was taken, because even me and Jackie were questioning some of the roads and why they picked this road over that road, based on just our eyeballs looking at the pavement. So, to answer the question about, why was this road picked over versus this road, it was a professional that consulted, but this happened a couple years ago. This has been several years of this rolling to the point where the faces have changed of the people that's inherited this project, and Ms. Amy and we just got it to the point finally we were gonna get it going.
Well,
Yeah.
and to your point, so when you and Jackie have concerns about the roads, the parts of the roads that are identified, granted you're there every day, is there a conversation or a discourse that happens if you are in agreement or disagreement with their assessment?
Yeah, so like with a lot of these projects that take several years to develop, when there's specifics, and Ms. Amy can speak of this, where once you've chosen that path and that consultant and person has picked, and that's the path they've chosen and they went down that ship has sailed. As far as like me and Jackie running that ship now, he may be of the opinion that that's not the road that's kind of late in the game to back up into. Is that correct?
You have to seek amendments to the scope of work. And so when you do that, you put the project back another 6 months, and another 6 months, and another 6 months. And then what happens is they run out of time to complete the project. And then you're not funding future grants. So we're just moving in the direction that we must in order to get something done through this grant project.
Good question, so. Any further discussion? If not, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution R2025-55.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to amended resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Meade awarding the bid for design and construction of a library multi-purpose facility, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
So this is associated with RFP 2025-02, in which we invited firms to submit their proposals for the design build of the new multi-purpose community center and library, which will be located on the southwest corner of Broadway Street East and Washington Avenue. This RFP was issued April 2nd, 2025, with a submission deadline of May 20th. A total of 3 proposals were received by the deadline from CPPI, Fleischman Garcia Maslowski, Simcoe Construction, and Bodum Construction. An evaluation committee met on May 27th, 2025 to review and evaluate the submitted proposals based on criteria outlined in the RFP. A breakdown of those proposals is as follows, with Simcoe proposing a cost at almost $6 million over 625 days of construction. Bodum proposed approximately $4.026 million over 300 days of construction, and CPPI proposed the project at $3.586 million over 547 days of construction, with a significantly smaller scope of work and building than what was listed in the request for proposals. So the committee convened and decided to recommend that award to Bodum Construction. We issued the intent to award. There were no protests. Just want to point out that Bodum's construction bid of $4.026 million exceeds the project budget by about $186,000. Okay, so it is over budget. However, with this recommendation, staff is looking to go in and negotiate some of the costs down because they did have an assumption for some existing conditions that was a little more expensive, well, a lot more expensive than some of the other submittals. So I do think there's an opportunity to bring down that cost within project budget. Okay? So we are committed to that with this approval by the commission. We will absolutely 100% go back and negotiate this down into the project grant range. Okay? So the combined budget allocation for this is approximately $3.84 million, and it is funded by grants. Again, those contract negotiations will ensure the project is feasible within the city's budget. There may be a request through the city's budget to set aside some portion of retainage just for cost overruns should you have them because you want to have some buffer in the project. However, we want to negotiate it down so that that is a non-issue with enough room within that grant so that we have approximately 5 to 10% there for any overrun. So I want to point that out to you. And again, upon approval by the city commission, staff will proceed to negotiate and finalize that contract, which has to come back before you for approval, and we'll schedule those initial meetings to run through the project timeline and requirements. So staff does recommend approving this bid award to Bodum Construction so that we can, city staff can go in and negotiate those terms.
Don't we have a deadline in December 26th to have it built?
Yes, sir, we do.
That's what I thought.
Yes, sir. Which was part of the consideration when we evaluated the proposals. Some of the other proposers were closer to a 2-year delivery. The one we selected is 300 days. So as long as we go and negotiate those terms, bring you back a contract, we should be able to kick off our project and finish it by the grant deadline. Yes, sir.
No other discussion, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution R 2025-56.
Second.
We have a motion and a proper second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to, resolution, item 04.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Meade awarding the bid for grant administration services, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
This one is RFP 2025-03. So this is grant administration associated with the multi-purpose facility.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lynch, if you could go and make sure that.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, continue, man.
And could we have someone close the door, please? Thank you. Now, the other door. the outside door, not the door to this room, but the glass door outside. Thank you. Yeah, they need to clear the hallway.
Okay.
We'll pause for a second. I want to get that clear. Well, we'll leave that one up. I just want them to be moved out the hall. Okay, we're going to reconvene, and sorry for that interruption. And Sergeant Lynch, the constant moving back and forth, that's also a distraction too, so if you can help us with that, thank you.
Yes, sir. So this bid award is for RFP 2025-03. It's associated with grant administration for the multi-purpose facility / library that we are engaging in. This is for the selection of a grant administrator to support staff's administration of the project. We issued a request for proposal for grant administration for the design build and for these grant administration services on April 16, 2025. We received 2 proposals from EcoStrata Services, Inc. and Fred Fox Enterprises, Inc. An evaluation committee was formed comprising of several staff members from various departments, and that committee met on May 22nd, 2025 to review and evaluate those submitted proposals based on criteria outlined in the RFP. The committee recommended Fred Fox Enterprises, Inc. for that award. This is paid for by the grant funding, so it's embedded within the grant itself. It is fully funded. Upon approval by the City Commission, staff will proceed to finalize that contract with Mr. Fox, and we'll schedule that initial meeting to talk through the project timeline and requirements. Staff recommends approval of that award to Fred Fox Enterprises and authorizing the city staff to begin that contract review and bring it back before you for finalization. Again, this is ideally it's fairly seamless because Mr. Fox will support the staff grant administration and also will help us when we're at the table negotiating the contract with the other entity that we've already selected for the project with the previous approval. So I'll stop right there. I'll stand for any questions and staff is available.
So it was necessary to have 2 separate items for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. The grant administration portion is separate, even though it's embedded in the contract. They're 2 separate entities, and because we have separate contracts with those entities, they're brought before you separately.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
If no other questions, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve resolution R 2025-57, approving the bid award to Fred Fox Enterprises Incorporated and to authorize city staff to begin the contract review.
Second.
We have a motion and a proper second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? None, motion carried. Moving on to item 05.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Meade authorizing the execution of the Fort Meade Utility Assistance Program, guidelines, training, and sub-recipient agreement between the City of Fort Meade and Help of Fort Meade, Inc.
So before I get started on the background for this particular resolution and the utility assistance program, I want to just issue a point of clarity. In the staff report, it states that the commission allocated $1 million to cover this program. And the commission did not vote for that allocation. It's actually a staff target. Okay, so the overall grant itself, originally was $5 million. You took $1 million and you put it towards the streetscape project here on Broadway. And so looking at how we can expend the rest of the dollars by the deadline, which is a year from now, staff is engaged in various conversations to try to figure out how we can expend these dollars within the guidelines, so to speak, because unfortunately we're not allowed to initiate certain activities because of the short amount of time to get through the funding. Okay, so we have to be very creative in how we approach this. And in those conversations, we thought about a way to support the residents and provide a service that is well needed throughout the community. So with the utility assistance program, you'll see here this resolution is the approval of that. The utility assistance program, the guidelines. There's also some training material that we included and a sub-recipient agreement between the city and the Help of Fort Meade, who is our administrative partner in this process. Okay. So that we don't have to burden our staff with it because they're already doing enough. And so here, again, I explained the background on the original sub-grant. I just want to make sure it's clear that the goal here is to provide utility payment assistance to the residents, and all the payments will be made on behalf of the residents directly to the utility providers. So there will be no direct monies cut to the residents. There will not be checks to the people. Staff will process those payments and they'll go to the utility providers. Also, I wanted to just be very clear that in this partnership between the Help, Fred Fox, and the city, there are application fees that the Help will be eligible for, provided they process those applications at a certain pace and a certain rate. The office hours and the dates of service are already detailed in the agreement. And we're excited about this one because we want to get started here June 30th. And so the training will ramp up and then we'll administer the program. The funds actually expire June 30th, 2026. And so, I just want to point out that the assistant city manager inherited this dormant grant process, got it, I would say got it back active and convinced folks to allow us to spend these dollars. And so I have no doubt that at the end of this process, there's a chance you may send back money, right? But it would be no fault of the assistant city manager in doing that. And I will also say that we are looking for additional programming to be able to include here. So currently we're exploring a rental assistance program that would have to come back before you and some other partnerships as well throughout the community. And we're finding that those public service partnerships are the best way for us to expend these dollars because we can create the guidelines as long as we can stand up the administrative processes. So I just wanted to put that out there. And again, staff recommends the approval of this utility assistance program and guidelines. And ACM Wheeler has created a presentation that she will be delivering tomorrow. I encourage any of you to join and you can listen in on that training process because she will be meeting with the help and we can certainly invite you into that conversation. Anyway, yeah, so if you,
Can you get talking to the microphone, please?
There's a Teams link as well for the training tomorrow at 2, so that can be shared with
and our intent,
staff.
Yeah, just keep it here. You don't have to lean up for it. It's going to capture it.
yeah, and our intent is to publish the information, create marketing material around the program, and also post here in City Hall and share across our social media platforms. So we'll actively do that, and we're excited about the program and the opportunity to help the residents here. And again, the target is for folks who are 80%, or I would say at or below 80% area median income, which is how much money ACM will?
For a family of 4, that's going to be a total household income of $66,650 annually.
So that's adjusted based on the size of the family.
On the household members of the family.
When are we looking to roll this out?
Yes, sir. So the rollout starts with the training ramp up, which is scheduled tomorrow for the initial training. We want to roll this out with a commencement date of June 30th. So we, as a part of this package, the city attorney has reviewed the forms, the documents, and so we tried to make sure that we had as close to a completed package as possible, so that when we do the training with the help of Fort Meade, it's pretty seamless and we can get going right away and start the application intake.
Question. So regarding the sub-recipient, how were they chosen? Were there other organizations that were considered by staff and or could be shared with the commission?
Of course. Okay. And I'll let you speak to them and then I'll add others if you
So there are very specific guidelines that the Florida Department of Commerce requested and it must adhere to under CFR 200-338. There must be a not-for-profit organization that is also an entity that provides human services. We reached out to the United Way. We reached out to the Fort Meade Chamber. Those entities had to also be within the city limits. And so the Fort Meade Chamber did not have the adequate staff and declined our request. There was no other not-for-profit entity within the city that was eligible to enter into a sub-recipient agreement.
Okay. So I'm aware of a couple, which means that our database is different. And what would be requested or appreciated, speaking for myself, requesting out the commission, is to know what other sub-recipients exist so that there could be a broader scope of
Within the city?
Within the city.
Okay.
Right? Of possible sub-recipients. And if we need to act on this tonight, what I will want is clarity on whether this agreement is not in perpetuity, but could this be amended at any point? Should you identify that there are more sub-recipients that exist here in the city? And I know I'm tagging on more things to my questions. So I'll pause and then I'll add my other question.
Sure.
Is it amendable?
So the answer is yes. This subrecipient agreement is one agreement with a single entity. And so we can have as many subrecipients to support us as possible. The subrecipient is only receiving an application fee. So it's for their services for the work that they do. If there are other nonprofits that want to come to the table that are qualified, that would like to partner with us to help deliver these services, we encourage them to come forward because, you know, they're limited in the number of hours that they can deliver the services, and we want to have as many operating dates as possible for the residents to go in and obtain these services. You know, so we encourage it, Commissioner. If you know of some entities, send them our way, and we'll vet them, and we'll figure out how to draft other subrecipient agreements, bring them forward to you for approval. But you will have to approve those agreements.
So my last question, is I think that may be to that point, what is the city's oversight? Are you all reviewing 1 in every 10 applications because I know you're short staffed, so not trying to increase the burden, but what is the city's oversight in the application process?
There are very strict performance monitoring and reporting requirements. They're listed there on page 5 of the subrecipient agreement. And I would like to put on the record that as a Florida certified contract manager, I have even a higher fiduciary duty to review every 5th application that we receive. We will also be requesting the rosters weekly of the numbers of applicants that were at the office, also the complete files. Also, these are all public record. They must all be submitted to the city, and they will all be on file with our office for 7 years. So public citizens can come and review the applications. They'll know beyond a shadow of a doubt who applied, who qualified, who received services.
So
This is completely in the sunshine.
my question to that is there should be information that individuals who apply for these funds have to provide that should not be accessible to anybody. So what happens in that case? Is it being redacted? Because there won't be any public record. There won't be any PPI information.
Okay.
But that their application on its face is a public record.
Okay. Yeah, and I want you to keep in mind that we also have Mr. Fox as a partner in this subrecipient agreement. And so Mr. Fox is another compliance mechanism. So it's not just on the city staff to monitor, that compliance, the reporting. And I think that you're well within right to ask on a monthly basis to ask AC and Willer to come in and report the numbers. The number of applicants, the number of folks awarded, and the amount of money dispersed. Because all of those reporting factors should be embedded within the grant.
Those are also monthly reporting requirements to Florida Department of Commerce. So I do that anyway.
Okay.
If no further, go ahead.
Sorry, this is David. If you can just speak to, it says the city expects that at least 80 persons will benefit from the project. If you can expound where the number 80 comes from and what may be the target.
Yes, that is a legislative number that was just created for optics, I think. And that happened when the coronavirus funding became available through the feds. So that number has nothing to do with our target as to who we want to receive services. Any applicant that's within the financial guidelines will qualify if they provide the requisite proof that we're asking for. And so we intend to utilize the funding until it runs out.
If nothing further, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution R2025-58, Fort Meade Utility Assistance Program.
We have a proper motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the item before us. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next item is resolution 06.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Meade, Florida, authorizing the mayor to execute an interlocal agreement with the Polk County Sheriff's Office for the provision of professional law enforcement services within the city limits of the City of Fort Meade, providing for findings, providing for an effective date, and providing for conflicts and severability.
All right, so this is a proposed agreement for the continuation of services for our public safety for residents, and so we can have Sergeant Lynch here with us tonight. This new agreement reflects the anticipated cost increase of nearly 16% over the previous fiscal year's expenditure for these services. These costs, these increases are driven by inflation. And it's the increase in operational costs, personnel compensation adjustments. And, we've been in this agreement for 17 years or so in this partnership to provide with Polk County Sheriff's Office to provide these law enforcement services within city limits. In addition to this compensation, we also provide the housing and the location for it in the building that we do own. Again, this agreement is up for renewal because it is set to expire at the end of this fiscal year, September 30th, 2025. We want to do this early to get it out of the way. Okay? That proposed interlocal agreement is attached as an Exhibit A, and it's outlining that scope of services, the responsibilities, and the agreed upon financial terms. Again, this fiscal impact is $1,578,000 for fiscal year 2026. And staff recommends that you adopt this resolution so that the mayor can execute this interlocal agreement with the Polk County Sheriff's Office.
If no further discussion, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution R2025-59.
Second.
We have a motion and a proper second to adopt. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. None. Motion carries.
I'd like to say something about this for the people out here. Before me PD left and the sheriff's office took over, their budget was $1 million. So I'm just giving you an example. It's been 17 years. They're going to raise it $500,000 in 17 years. So that's just something to think about.
Item 08.
A resolution of the City Commission.
Seven. I'm sorry. I crossed 7 out for some reason. Yes. I apologize. Item 07.
One good thing is I'll still read the correct one. So, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Meade, Florida, authorizing a temporary closure of a portion of West Broadway Street on road traffic management for the Main Street Fort Meade event, providing for application to the Florida Department of Transportation in Polk County, requiring a certificate of insurance and providing an effective date.
So this is, as the city attorney stated, that street closing for the 4th of July event. Be on Friday, July 4th of this year. Downtown, that closure is scheduled from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. And it looks like we'll get that certificate of insurance naming the city as an additional insured on this. There's no fiscal impact for us, and we're just requesting that this road closure be approved. Staff stands for any questions.
I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve resolution R2025-60.
Second.
We have a motion and a proper second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Now we're at 08.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Meade, Florida, authorizing the temporary closure of a portion of West Broadway Street and related traffic management for the Chamber of Commerce event, providing for application to the Florida Department of Transportation in Polk County, requiring a certificate of insurance and providing an effective date.
And this is another request for a temporary street closure. This is a Chamber of Commerce event, a Festival de las Americas event to be held Friday, October 3rd, 2025. This is downtown as well. Closure from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. The Chamber will provide the city with a certificate of insurance, naming the city as an additional insured, and there is no fiscal impact. The recommendation is that the Commission approve this resolution requesting that temporary road closure for the Festival de las Americas. I
want to know, is there anyone from the chamber here that could just expound on what this event is that for many they won't know, or you can?
The chamber, anyone?
No,
So, and I'm not gonna try to do this in Spanish. I'm quite capable. So, this is a event that staff from the county, Derek Hart, approached the chamber saying they would like to see an event for like a Hispanic type event, and so they approached them and they said yes, they would do it. And so it's really to just shed light on Hispanic heritage, as October, a portion of October is Hispanic Heritage Month. So that's as much as I know through conversations that I was a part of. All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution R2025-61.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve this resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 09.
Resolution of the City of Fort Meade, Florida, appointing the law office of Markeisha Elston, PA, as city attorney and approving the city attorney's professional service contract for legal services and providing for an effective date.
Well, the law offices of Markeisha Smith, PA, the firm has been providing these services to you all on an interim basis since October 18, 2024, effectively serving the city's legal needs and demonstrating that competency in municipal law matters. The firm has successfully handled the city's legal affairs during the tenure as interim city attorney, and the performance has been satisfactory and demonstrated proficiency in the delivery of those services to the city commission and staff. The city requires consistent and reliable legal representation to ensure compliance with applicable laws and regulations. Appointing the firm as the permanent city attorney will provide continuity in legal services and eliminate the interim status. From a budgetary perspective, the amount is undetermined, but is not anticipated to exceed the already budgeted amount. And that amount for 2025 was $220,000. As of March 31st of this year, the firm has used approximately 9% of the allocated budget. And, the prior firm used 9% of the allocated budget. That new firm, Attorney Smith, has used approximately 26% of the budgeted amount. That remaining fund balance is $135,524, which should not be an issue as you close this fiscal year. The recommendation is that the City Commission adopt the attached resolution appointing the law offices of Markeisha L. Smith, PA, as the city attorney and approving the city attorney professional services contract for legal services. Staff, any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I would like to comment about the law offices of Markeisha L. Smith, city attorney, and on an interim basis. I just want to say thank you. Since I've been a commissioner, this is my 5th year, I have not had this much amount of communication and explanation in regarding city matters. And so I just want to say thank you for being open, transparent, and ethical in your approach with me. And I know if that's your approach with me, I'm certain that is your approach with others. So I value your knowledge, your experience, and your skill. And I, for one, am grateful that you're here, and thank you so much. Any questions, you make yourself available any time of the day. I do respect your office hours, but you are always available when I call, and you're ready to answer. And if you don't know the answer, you get back with me in a timely fashion to provide me your professional opinion in legal matters. And so I just want to publicly say thank you.
I do have a question pertaining to the remaining fund balance, not necessarily the contract. So with this amount remaining, and if we don't reach this threshold, what takes place with this budgeted amount of money?
Those funds get swept, and you get to move them into another area. And I'll say that openly because there was already an intent to poach some of those dollars in the budget amendments that are coming next month to be able to pay for some of the things we need to pay for.
Okay.
So saving money with the attorney and those services allows you to do other things.
Okay.
I do think there was an error in the staff report that I would have made.
Could you bring the microphone?
I think there was an error in the staff report that I would have made. I think it's supposed to reflect the prior firm had used 19% of the budgeted amount, and then I have used 26%. So just so the record reflects the accurate amount.
Gotcha.
Okay, so it was 19% versus 9%
Yes, 19%.
previous work.
Yes, previous fund. And that's looking at the budget as a whole. So we budgeted for 220,000, and then the previous fund used 19%, and then I used 26% so far.
Okay. I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution 2025-62.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution, R 2025-62. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
No, it's not time. We're ready for tiny comments. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 10.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Meade, Florida, authorizing emergency repairs to affluent pump infrastructure at the wastewater treatment plant, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
All right. I keep forgetting we don't have to come up here and talk. And if any questions, I'll answer. Okay.
I'll line it up for you. So this is this calls for the approval of restricted sewer funds for an emergency repair and restoration of your wastewater treatment plant effluent pump number 1. And back in April, we had the effluent pump number 2 suffer a catastrophic failure, and so that places us with one of our 3 pumps currently online, which is pump number 3. The city staff has tried to, I would say, accommodate by installing a diesel backup pump to assist while the emergency repairs are pending. Excuse me, we had a contract to remove pump number 2 for an evaluation and determine it wasn't reparable, and then we also had them return and remove pump number 1 for an evaluation. And so, pumps 1 and 2 now, it sounds like will be merged into one single functional pump with a bunch of repairs. That makes it.
Is that sufficient?
Yeah. So we have a SAFI grant coming down the pipes to redo all the excellent infrastructure down there. The way we're able to use these restricted funds is there's 4 slots for 4 pumps down there. The grant has 3 pumps. This 4th pump, they'll take 2 pumps, restore 1 pump to a like new condition out of 2 pumps, and And then that one pump will stay in place, be incorporated into the new design for the effluent station, so we'll have additional capacity for whatever future growth. So it's obviously good.
How does this impact our ability to, or is it an impact at all, to be able to utilize our own affluent water or discharge, or however we say it?
Yeah, severely handicapped. Yeah, because right now we have one pump carrying the weight.
So this solution is something that propels us forward, or is this just maintaining what we have?
No, this will get us through this hurricane season. It truly is an emergency repair.
Okay.
To repair something that's there. But because we're investing this money into this solution, we've worked with engineers. We've got a letter from the engineers that this will be incorporated into the new design, so that this will give us additional capacity for the future for exactly what.
Thank you. That's where I was going at. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, do we have an idea how much additional capacity that is? Or is that too early to tell?
It's too early to tell.
Okay.
It's gallons per minute. It's more flow.
Okay. Thank you for answering those questions. I'll entertain a motion. Did we hold to? I'm sorry. Did you have more?
I was just going to go through the fiscal impact because I didn't get to finish that piece, but if you all are comfortable with what you see in front of you, then I'll defer to the commissioner.
You're comfortable? Yeah, I mean, what was on my mind was, how does this increase our capacity? All right.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution 2025-63, wastewater treatment plant affluent repairs.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item 11.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Meade, Florida, approving change order number 6 to the contract between the City of Fort Meade and MG Underground LLC, the SRF wastewater system improvements, providing for authorization and providing for an effective date.
So this particular item is a change order to this project. They'll install some inflow shields on 50 new manholes, resulting in a reduction of wastewater treatment facility operating costs due to treatment of stormwater inflow into newly installed wastewater manholes. I won't get into all those specifics, but the overarching thing here is that the water line is repeatedly failed during construction. And the stresses from the construction, the recompacting of the water main, places it at significant risk of failure in the future. And so I want to say that the manhole directly upstream from this newly constructed manhole 3 has extensive degradation due to hydrogen sulfide damage and needs to be stabilized. So the way that staff has laid it out is that half of the city's current wastewater passes through this particular manhole, which will tell you how important it is to the network. So this final change order is an increase of $57,665.40 to the current contract cost, but this final cost is expected to be under budget, so there will not be a fiscal impact. We're already under budget on the project, and this is a change order, so we'll take some of those dollars up, but at the end of the day, it is funded by an SRF grant that is coming in under budget. So staff recommends the adoption of this resolution to approve this change order for the SRS project.
Yes.
Tommy, this is the Perry and 3rd Street, that's southeast.
Yeah. So
About church.
yeah. So there's 3 separate items here, but the main problem is Perry and 3rd. So in the compaction and all this, we couldn't absolutely.
I talked about it, I said, get that laboratory off there.
Yeah, so they can't, that line there is so old, it's failed a couple times. We've had to repair it. It's one that we can't shut off that'll be catastrophic. You'll notice there's some lower plates over that. They can't even actually, we're in fear of them even paving or restoring that particular section until this water line is totally rehabbed. So that's, I mean, it's change order, there's no way around it. I mean, it's gotta be,
It's gotta be done.
it has to be done.
So the time frame on?
As soon as we can approve this here, they'll be ordering parts and get it done. I think when we discussed today, they're hoping to wrap everything. I know it's been ongoing with this deal, but it's making progress.
Watched it.
1 month, so.
Okay. Okay. We can endure one more.
We went this far.
This is the absolute last thing, right?
Oh, as far as this project?
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is the last piece of, dirt road, yeah, and it's under boilerplate, but we can fix this, we're good on this part.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll be great. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution R 2025-6 for approving change order number 6 for Benchmark Construction Company Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $57,665.40.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Moving on to item 12, and I think I misspoke the first time.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Meade, Florida, authorizing emergency repairs to First Street Northeast, sewer repair and rehabilitation, and providing for severability.
So this one is related to First Street Northeast. Sewer collapse is an emergency repair as well. The city staff has been monitoring this First Street depressions caused by the aging sewer for several years. The sewer was slated to be rehabbed in the scope of the recent SRF Lanier project, but was passed over after several collapses and open holes occurred on 2nd Street Northeast. This placed the First Street improvements on hold. The recent approval of the construction phase of several city street paving areas has made First Street sewer rehabilitation a priority to ensure that the roadbed is stabilized for pending paving improvements and underground structure resiliency. So making sure that when you're putting in the new roadway that the sewer is in good condition under it, right? If you recall, you do have a paving project coming up. So we talked about that a little bit earlier. This is an unplanned expense that is necessary due to the timing of that approved paving project. Those repairs will be funded from sewer reserve funds. This rehabilitation is an industry accepted standard that will serve the community for decades to come. And I'll let Tommy describe the SOC to you here in a minute, but how they line those pipes. But the emergency status and time critical nature of this decision was made, solicited 2 separate quotes from vendors that could be utilized and vetted via the piggyback to meet the timeline and scope of work requirements, since we do have that paving project coming down the pipeline. Those 2 proposals were from Hinterland Group and Engineered Spray Solutions. Staff recommends utilizing ESS for those emergency repairs. The cost to perform this scope of work is $120,006. It'll be funded by a combination again of sewer reversion impact fees as applicable. The recommendation that you adopt this and approve the emergency repair and rehab of First Street sewer to be performed by ESS in the amount presented. Staff is available for any questions.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution R 2025-65.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adopt. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, moving on to our public hearings. First of which is second and final reading. Attorney Smith.
An ordinance of the City of Fort Meade, Florida, amending the official zoning map of the City of Fort Meade, Florida, specifically amending 8 parcels of land comprising of 1,163.67 acres on property located in the northwest quadrant of the city, west of U.S. Highway 98, Fort Meade, Florida. Parcel identifications are listed, and each of those parcel identification numbers starts off with 25-31. And I'll read the remaining numbers of each of the 8. 08-0 00000-02110. The next parcel, 08-0000000-022010. The following parcel, 09-00000-024-010. The next parcel, 16-00000-012-040. The following parcel is 16-00000-012-060. The next parcel is 16-00000-022-010. The following parcel is 17-00000-011-020. And the final parcel of 17-00000-022-010 from the zoning of city unassigned to industrial planned unit development.
Could you repeat that?
I don't see all those parcels.
Oh, and your name.
Okay.
You have that?
I just thought it was you.
You don't have it?
So I think our exhibits are different. We don't have the same exhibit. Well, I'll say the exhibit that I have is different than Commissioner Watts as well.
I don't have that. Is it new? Is it the new?
It wasn't a new one.
And
No, that was for the pension board meeting. You had another sheet that was on that desk when you came around the dais.
It's just, hey, I'm in the wrong place, that's why I'm in the wrong place.
you may have to
Okay.
look.
Number 9, because the one you just read was on item 2. Is it item?
Okay, guys. Commissioner Shell's request is going to be granted, and I am going to read that again.
I don't have that strap in front of me.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
So that's my error. Let me see if I flip it over. So I did.
okay.
Team, listen, this is not a reflection of the work I've done to date. Alright, we bring that back one more time. So just to clear it up for the record, I ended up reading the second and final reading for ordinance 2025-09, and all the commission was on the correct ordinance 2025-08. So I will read that one instead, but that is the correction. So I apologize, but for that, but here we go. Okay. An ordinance of the city of Fort Meade, Florida, amending the future land use map of the city of Fort Meade, Florida, specifically amending 3 parcels of land comprising of 26.70 acres on property located in the northwest part of the city, west of US Highway 98. Fort Meade parcel identification number is 2531-16, followed by 6 consecutive zeros, 022010. Parcel identification number 25-31-17, followed by 6 consecutive zeros, -022010, and parcel identification number 25-31-16, followed by 6 consecutive zeros, -012060, on the future land use of city unassigned to industrial, transmitting said amendment to Florida Commerce for finding of compliance, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you.
So,
All right. Miss, you gonna call Miss Young? I'll open up the public hearing.
Yes. Good evening. Yes, it works.
I'm Stephanie Montelis, Bush for the Central Florida Regional Planning Council. And so this is the second reading, as we've heard of, so there's a total of 1,162 acres in the full project. And
All of it is unsigned. But 26 acres, and that's 3 parcels, did not get, they all got the future land use except for those 3 parcels. So you have to change the future land use on those 3 parcels, and then the entire project, all 8 parcels, will get a zoning So, I had a presentation that I showed last time.
We're good. We're good.
So we do have, representatives from, project here, so if you'd like to look at that. And this is, again, so it's the future land use first, and then zoning second, so it's 2 projects.
Okay. We would like to open up this now for public hearing. If there's anybody here present that would like to speak pertaining to this item. If not, we will close public hearing and I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance 2025-08, approving the future land use map amendment on second and final reading. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? None, motion carries. Moving on to 902. K02.
And we could just roll back about 5 minutes or so. In ordinance of the city of Fort Meade, Florida, amending the official zoning map of the city of Fort Meade, Florida, specifically amending 8 parcels of land comprising of 1,163.67 acres on property located in the northwest quadrant of the city, west of US Highway 98, Fort Meade, Florida, parcel identification numbers 25-31-08, followed by 6 consecutive zeros, -021010, parcel identification number 25-31-08, followed by 6 consecutive zeros, -022010, parcel identification number 25-31-09, followed by 6 consecutive zeros, -024010, parcel identification number 2531-16, followed by 6 consecutive zeros, 012040, parcel identification number 25-31-16, followed by 6 consecutive zeros, -012060, parcel identification number 25-31-16, followed by 6 consecutive zeros, -022010, parcel identification number 25-31-17, followed by 6 consecutive zeros, -011020, and parcel identification number 2531-17, followed by 6 consecutive zeros, -022010, from the zoning of city unassigned to industrial planned unit development.
We will open up this time for our second and final. Any public discussion? Anyone wish to address the commission pertaining to this item? If not, we will close public forum and entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance 2025-09, approving the zoning map amendment on the second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to new business, M01.
So this is an item related to unbilled sewer revenues. Just for context, the city's auditors are actively working through our audit process. Okay, so the city's auditors, upon recalculating the fiscal year 2024 utility bills, identified that charges for the sewer rate were erroneously capped at 10,000 gallons. And this restriction is intended for residential accounts. It was incorrectly applied to commercial accounts. After some review, our customer service and billing manager determined that the underbilling occurred over a 3-year period. So if you consider the time period, it would be extended from October 1st, 2024 to September 30th, October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2024. Okay, so the utility bill error was in place for a 3-year period. The root cause was an error to the manual updates to the billing rates in our accounting software, which is BSNA, and a lack of internal controls. As a result, the affected commercial accounts were not charged correctly for sewer services received during this period, and that error was rectified on October 1st of last year with the implementation of the current billing rate schedule. It is important to note that the applicable rates vary by year due to factors like the sale of the city mobile home park and general rate increases and fluctuations in usage. I've laid out here for you the budgetary impact of the billing error, which over 3 years totaled $120,056.07. You also have in your package of information, you should have a distribution or breakdown of those businesses that were impacted at the time. Okay, so by each year, we've broken it down for you to show you how much money and what businesses were a part of this billing error. Some of those businesses are no longer active, okay, just to give you an idea of that as well. So, the staff went back to try to gather an understanding as to how other municipalities and other entities handle these types of billing issues. When speaking with the City of Wauchula, City of Bartow, and Florida Rural Water Association, the best practice is to limit retroactive billing to 6 months. Okay? And that's when correcting billing issues. That's what we were told. And so, but I just want to keep in mind that none of those entities experienced this specific type of billing error. All right? And so with that, I want to share that we're prepared to implement some corrective actions in order to ensure that this doesn't happen again and to prevent future discrepancies and to ensure compliance with provisions, because you have to keep in mind that your sewer funds also service loans. And I can tell you, even today, you have some things on the agenda. You got a $120,000 project that aligns with the cost of these lost revenues, right? So with that, looking to strengthen those controls within the sewer fund by having an enhanced rate validation process, and that's annual review of utility billing items to ensure proper rate application. Internal audit procedures so that we do it on our own and not wait for the auditors to catch it. And that's routine audits of randomly selected accounts to confirm billing accuracy. And then also having a multi-level review process. And that means that any annual rate changes need to be reviewed by multiple staff members. Internally, I've identified those staff members as senior customer service representative. As you know, the customer service and billing manager is conducting the changes in the system, so you want to have other eyes on it. Because this is a water issue, it will be the water wastewater director, and the city manager should have to verify this data as well. Then the other item we have here is some additional training for the billing personnel on rate update procedures. And so at this point, the commission has several options, and this is above my purview as city manager. So I wanted to bring this back before you because you all set, you all set the parameters and policies for your utilities. So with that, the commission has several options. We can backbill customers of the respective accounts and provide a payment plan to them so that you can recoup this money over, which again spans a 3-year period. And I did mention to you that some of these businesses are no longer in existence. The second is that you can seek to recoup a portion of the funds dating back to a time certain, meaning that you could decide to backbill 6 months and just say, you know what, we just want 6 months, and you can keep it moving from there, and you can provide a payment plan to those businesses. And lastly, you may waive all obligation to repay for the customers. And at this point, there is a staff recommendation to waive the obligation to repay due to the previously stated best practices and the time that has lapsed between these, the errors that have occurred. However, I want to reiterate, it is the commission's discretion as to how to handle this matter. And so I'll stop there. I'll stand for any questions. And, staff is here to support the discussion as well.
I do have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
So I want to understand, we have 3 different years, and I'm looking at Anna Woodbury. It says Anna Woodbury 2. Anna Woodbury was not functioning in the fiscal year 2024, but it has an amount of $4,452 owed.
They're using the building. People from the
But
sheriff's
this
office is in there.
But this is for you.
This is for, sewer fund.
Correct.
Sewer fund. Yes, sir.
So are they not being open? Did they use that much? Then the other one is New Beginnings High School. Fiscal year, it says nothing. However, they were open.
Yes, sir.
So I just won't understand it. How could something like that happen? What determines those numbers? And then if we, for instance, go say Anna Woodbury, which is Polk County Schools, we owe us this much money for that year, but that school wasn't used. Now they do have another campus, which is noted here, Lewis Elementary, and then it says 2. Do we know what does the numbers pertain to? Anna Woodbury 2, Lewis Elementary 2. What does that mean, the 2?
For the staff, I would say that,
2.
yeah, I can't speak to the numbers that are tethered to these accounts, right? Because the billing manager produced the table. So I don't know if there's another staff member here that is aware of why those numbers are what they are.
Yeah.
Can you weigh in on that?
Yeah, the only thing I could say is some of these, like the school locations and stuff, and as well as some businesses, some of them have multiple meters coming into those locations.
Okay.
So just so you know, your sewer bills are billed off your water meter. So if your water meter's dead, non-functioning, you're not getting charged for sewer. So
Say that one more time.
So sewer is billed off of water consumption because there's not a turd meter in the ground. We don't have turd meters. We only got water meters. So that's the way they calculate sewer consumption.
So I guess my question is, if that school was not functioning, it didn't have any kids there.
So
They were all at the main campus.
right. So I do know, like you mentioned, the Polk County Sheriff was down there, and what could happen if the Polk County's down there doing training? A toilet. I mean, I go around with citizens on occasion.
That would be like
flat can hang, and that's a water leak that goes right down the drain that nobody sees, and that water it just thousands of gallons can flow through that system without anybody's knowledge, and especially with no one there.
So does that mean New Beginnings doesn't have a meeting?
It makes me wonder if New Beginnings is open and
Oh, yeah, open.
I can
Okay.
speak
Go
to
ahead.
this. So, and thank you for supporting the previous conversation. With this one, it's about the amount of usage. So if you remember, I said that there's a 10,000 gallon tank. And so if they're utilizing under that amount, the excess is not billed. And so with that number is negligible, which is why you don't see a number in the
understood. Okay, understood.
They're under the $10,000 cap.
Gotcha.
Okay. But I still don't
Which makes it even more curious
about Anna Woodbury.
Yes, sir. Because they're using 10,000 plus the addition.
And then law enforcement is there maybe once a month, maybe. Probably twice a month.
Okay, well,
Um,
we still have a decision to make.
Yeah, my colleagues are faster than I am, so I just want to restate this. This was a 3-year billing error?
Yes, sir. And the auditors caught it this year, and part of it is because of the way it's sent. When they audit the utility bills, you pull a representative sample of the actual, the customer accounts. And so there's a chance that they pulled some accounts that were in compliance, right? So you pull a few, those are in compliance. And it just so happens that this year, opening the audit, pulled one that wasn't proper, and then it forces you to review some other accounts for accuracy. And so that's how we ended up with a 3-year-long gap here in accuracy.
In the amount of $120,056.07.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have it, it's not in my packet.
While she's looking at that, I wanted to express, well, let me get this understanding. When you mentioned a possible water flowing, so it is their responsibility to catch that, right? So if that is the case in this campus that's not being utilized, who does that fall on to catch that this flow is taking place? Is that their responsibility?
That is a responsibility. Same as it falls with a homeowner. You know, you may get like when Mr. Nell was here, she may get a complaint of a high usage. So she would put in a work order. We would dispatch staff to go out there, look at that meter, and then inform the citizen, hey, you've got a leak in your house somewhere.
Gotcha.
It's going somewhere, it's under your house, somewhere in your plumbing, you've got a problem. So you got that.
All right, so I was just reading the memo where it stated that the root cause was an error to manual updates. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, you stated that for the future, you've put in some parameters to where this doesn't or isn't allowed to occur because you have checks and balances, correct? But the billing individual who's responsible for this, they'll still have the ability to manually code.
That is correct. The obligation on the person who fills this role is that it is a manual insertion or manual update. You just have to we have to test the system, and it's not uncommon to have it that way, provided there are processes in place that you call the people who should be called to review the bills and pull the sample and make sure that it's accurate.
Okay. All right.
I mean, and to that point, can't speak for my colleagues. This is really egregious to me. Also stating that you check with other municipalities, and those entities have not experienced this specific type of unique billing error. This is just deeply concerning, and I'll leave it there.
Well, I mean, it's obvious that it is our error. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that this has occurred. And so I'm of the opinion, Mr. Mayor, that we as a city, we have to eat the cost. If it was, only 6 months ago, I would have a different outlook on the approach that we should take. So at this time,
Let me ask this question.
Okay.
So for the fiscal year of 2024, that's the only one I'm concerned with. That's the closest to us, right? Are we beyond the 6 months?
We are, Mayor, because it's already due.
Yeah.
And that fiscal year closed out in October. So
it's based on from October.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, predates October.
Because I don't want to if there's a path forward to get a portion of that, then I think we should pursue it. But
Mr. Mayor, I am in agreement with Commissioner McCutcheon. It's the city's error, and we have to eat it. And it is unfortunate, which is why I said this is egregious to me. I think we handle it differently in our countenance, but this is awful. And so I think the city, it is of my opinion that the city has to eat this.
well, if no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion the commission may waive all the obligation to repay for the customers.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to waive the obligation, to recoup the funds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? The motion carries. Where we at? Item M02, contributions to organizations for which there was no formal agreement.
Yes, sir. And so this was the request, there was a request to add this item to the agenda, and so I'll let the requester, take this up.
Absolutely. So this was concerning, which I was unable to attend the last meeting. There was an item that was passed for a $25,000 contribution from, the commission approved it for the 175-year celebration. I expressed concerns regarding that approval, and there were a couple of things that I would have liked to see, even not being at the last meeting, and that specifically was details about the event, a budget, the scope of what would be taking place with this project, with this celebration. And I also expressed concern about the dollar amount as to what precedents that may set for other organizations. If there was another organization that said, hey, listen, I want to plan something for the 175th year for the city of Fort Meade. And it's at the commission's discretion, which is understood. I'm just concerned about the dollar amount, concerned about not seeing details regarding the celebration and the cost associated with it. I want that to go on record and ask specifically, have there been any details that's been received by the city that can be passed on to the commission regarding this 175-year celebration?
I can speak to that. So if there has been details surrounding this, we come up with a potential budget prior to asking. We did not disclose that because we wanted to see what the will of the commission was. And so, but we can provide that to the commission, whoever would like to see what it is. I just can't call it all off the top of my head. This is not to an organization. I spearheaded a committee of people. I gathered them. This committee is reflective of, it's a diverse committee. It was reflective of our community and individuals from different aspects on this committee. Then we met, we discussed. There was another organization prior to this. There was another group of people, I can't say an organization, but there was a group of people that was taking the initiative, and then that simmered out. And so, being that it's 175 years, there was an appetite to celebrate. And so, I spearheaded that to get the committee together. And then once we met, come up with some potential options, we put that together. One option was Stream Song. That did not work out. The next option that did work out was Scars Farm. I think that's in Alturas. And so I could make sure that the chairperson, Ashley Deschamps, could get you the information that you're asking about.
It's great, and I just want to, Sean, I'll let you comment as well. As a producer of events and a collaborator of producers of events, there is, which we notice, say, putting a cart before a horse. I think it's very important that that the organization, group of individuals, whoever sponsoring or producing an event, that a budget is prepared, a detailed budget, when you are seeking support of private donations, of city support. Commissioner Watts, although I wasn't physically able to attend, I did hear you on the YouTube expressed concerns regarding this as well. And I just want to make sure the decisions that we are making are informed decisions. And I want to make sure when we are committing ourselves, whether that be 175 year or 200 year celebration, that we have as much information as we need from the beginning before we are committing any type of financial support, especially of that dollar amount.
Yes, sir. And I think what the mayor is laying out is very reasonable, to have the committee or the steering committee come in and present the activities and where they are on from a fundraising aspect, as well as how much sponsorship has already been allocated or donated to the event. And I won't speak for the steering committee, but I presume that there's an opportunity to reduce the city's contribution if there are enough sponsorships to displace that original donation. So I won't say that in the affirmative, but I think that was the intent or the mindset, to ensure that the city and the taxpayers were not unduly burdened by the event. But on top of that, I've been working with the deputy city clerk on a legislative tracker to help make sure that you get the right people in to present items to you. And part of this is that you have other agreements with nonprofits and organizations that should be coming before you to present their items on an annual or semi-annual basis, like our partnership with the sheriff's office. They're supposed to come in twice a year. And so she should be tracking all of these various appearances. And I know that we should have Main Street come in July, and you can absolutely have the steering committee added to the agenda to come present that information.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor? Yes, sir. It's on the agenda, but I would like to ask new business on item 3. And I discussed this with the city attorney, and they said this would be the best place to say. What? You said new business? I'd like to have it as a business item. It's not on the agenda. That I would like to introduce at this time, and the city attorney recommended this would be a good start to do. I'd like to introduce discussion on the. Well, my question is, when we stated if there was any additions, deletions, or where am I at?
At the top.
And or deletions, why did not take place at that time? That might have been a failure on my part. This is certainly just me coming up. I'll address it later about the agenda. So we'll keep going with the report of the mayor. Report of the mayor. So we talked about earlier 4th of July coming up. There will be a variety of activities taking place, starting with Little Mr. and Miss Firecracker will be taking place down on stage on Main Street, as it'll be blocked off. That'll take place, I believe, at 3 p.m. After that, we have on the lineup to do a golf cart parade, which was very well welcomed the last time, and so hopefully we'll have more participation. And you're pretty much decorating your golf cart. There will be a judging prior to the parade taking off. After that, there will be a pie and cake bake-off competition, along with a cornhole competition. The cornhole competition will start about 5:30, I believe, and it will be 2 separate routes. You will have novice people like me who just play for fun, and then you're going to have another group of people competing against each other who do it they do it religiously. There will be vendors downtown Main Street and so come out, support, have a good time, and after all of those festivities close, of course, we'll have our firework display at Patterson Park. So I want to keep that to the forefront. And I'm gonna tell you, I did not write my notes down, so instead of trying to ramble, I'm just gonna end it there with the report. But now we have the report of the city manager.
All right. Thank you, sir. I have two items this evening, and the first is the Lien Amnesty Program report. You all asked for this report a couple of months ago, and staff worked diligently to try to pull the information together. I want to say kudos to Mr. McNerney because he jumped in on lien amnesty through a lot of transition. I'll say that, and he's done a great job in trying to pick it up. And I will likely read most of this memorandum verbatim just for the record, and so that the general public knows what's in front of you. But this lien amnesty program was adopted by the City Commission at June 11th of last year with the goal of providing property owners a one-year window to resolve outstanding code enforcement liens. So this report summarizes that implementation, the administrative challenges, and the key findings regarding the program integrity. And I will say that although the program had some strong initial interest, its effectiveness was hampered by substantial personnel turnover and inconsistent oversight. The departure of the code enforcement officer just before the launch left the program with the chief of staff and the interim city manager at the time. And then also, it was short-lived because they both departed, and then that responsibility shifted temporarily to the new chief operations officer and the city clerk. And that was pending the appointment and selection of Mr. McNerney. And so in October of last year, Mr. McNerney assumed the new role of code enforcement risk manager, and he took over the administrative process associated with this program. And again, you're hit with another challenge where the city manager was not available, and he's not been available since January 17th, and I was appointed in February to come in and support. And so I initiated this review of the program to determine the status and ensure compliance with the original resolution that was adopted. So through the review of the program, currently we have 2 pending applications that needed to be addressed. I've just had a meeting today with a few folks in the room, and we'll probably have another one because we're trying to get them through the process before the deadline. Also, from the lien release perspective, there are a few properties that are still not complete or not in compliance with the relevant codes, so they can't completely be waived at this time. There also have been instances of incomplete submissions where applications and associated fees were not formally submitted, and so just a little bit of breakdown on the application intake process. And then the other thing is the utility payments. It was really intended for the applicants to resolve the outstanding utility payment balances. And some of the reviews revealed cases where the liens were being processed or potentially released without verification of all those payments. And so I'll say Mr. McNerney is very assertive in going out and making sure that all of the various checkpoints of the actual program administration are met. And again, that's just a highlight of the challenges that were present at the time and have been. So when you think about where we are today, Mr. McNerney has conducted a detailed review of all the applications and new releases that have been carried out, and then he's re-verifying the compliance status of all those properties where liens have already been released, and then also reconciling the application submissions with the received fees and making sure that we have those outstanding utility balances. Okay? And so I'll share with you in your package, you may have some information about like an Excel spreadsheet regarding the payments and the fees. I did update that spreadsheet before the meeting because we had a formula issue in the calculation of some of the fees that showed that some of the pending projects were actually calculated as completed as forgiven. And so I went back and adjusted those. And so I will read those into the record now as I go through the program activity summary. So when you look at it, the program participation, You have a list of the applicants from June of 2024 with a breakdown there. And then from the program activity summary, it shows that we had 23 applications approved or denied. We have 3 pending. The total amount of liens or fines forgiven, $6.246 million. The amount of hard costs forgiven has been adjusted as well. So when you look at that spreadsheet, I think it shows a number of like $68,000 or $69,000. Because of the formula correction, that has been adjusted down to $27,000. Okay? And then the amount of unpaid utilities recovered has gone up. And then lastly, the amount of application fees, $2,750. So from a budgetary impact perspective, code enforcement's budget has seen an influx of some dollars here, some $20,000, and utilities, we've had $5,000-ish paid back. So the recommendation here is for the commission to receive and file a report. But then also I want to offer an opportunity, because I think that there's a chance that you may want to do this again. But rather than jump back into another consecutive year of code enforcement and this lien amnesty program, I think we want to give Mr. McNerney an opportunity to come in and present a final report. So I would say let's give him a couple of months to do that. I have October 2025 as the potential date, as a recommended date. That way he can provide an overview, a final report on the program itself, and then also to provide you all with recommendations on things that may need to change. Because it may require you to go back and revise what you adopted in order to activate the program. And I'll stop there.
So for the spaces where there is nothing written, no explanation in notes, where the hard costs were covered, how are we supposed to read that?
And that's why I say that Mr. McNerney is still actively working some of these cases, right?
Okay.
And trying to make sure that he reconciles all of those. So some missing information, and I think that points to the gaps in the program management.
Was outstanding utility something assessed later on?
When you say,
I see, we always talk about soft costs and hard costs, but I see this thing that says, this line item says outstanding utilities. And I don't recall that being an item when we did this. Is this something that was added to this or what?
It's in the staff, it's in the, when they adopted the lien amnesty program.
so if you look at the administrative procedures associated with the program, I believe that it is embedded in that program. I look over at Mr. Burke because he did a great job of creating that, that administrative procedure. So
I just don't recall us ever talking about it. We've always talked about soft costs, we always talked about hard costs, but I did not recall outstanding utilities. And how is that being assessed if property is exchanging hands? Who's being stuck with an outstanding utility?
So I have, and just as a point for the administrative rules that are embedded in the program, I see it says that any utility charges are found, notify the applicant of the outstanding amount, suspend their application process until the utility charges are paid in full. And then once that payment is confirmed, proceed with the application process. So that may not necessarily answer your question in whole, but those are the administrative processes associated with the identification of those outstanding utility charges.
If nothing further, we'll accept that report and move on to the next line item. Was there anything further? No? Yes, sir. Wasn't it?
I don't have anything.
Yeah, so there, it needs to, by motion. So, I'd like to make a motion with information that you shared, a motion to receive and file staff report and request staff return with a final program summary and recommendations at the October 2025 regular meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and second for said motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to 002.
So And before I jump into this, this is the last item for me, and so this evening, and so I wanted to acknowledge a loss of Ms. Gwendolyn Henderson, City of Tampa City Council member, and Councilwoman Henderson was also the CRA chair, and she passed this morning. And she was a fierce, a great woman, and certainly a reminder to me that we have to appreciate our heroes while they're in front of us, right? And not sacrifice them. I'll say that, or take for granted the time that we have with them. But in this case, this is a SWOT analysis. In this SWOT analysis, and I apologize because she was a great inspiration for me in the work that I do and working with her in my time in Tampa. But this document is a summary of my time to date here in the city of Fort Meade during my tenure as the interim city manager. And so I know that, a lot of times you may get people to come in and do a job temporarily, or you get consultants come through the door and they leave you with nothing, okay? Or you don't understand the work that they put in during the time that they've been here. And so with that, I wanted to make sure that I answered some of the questions that I have been asked by individually, and as a collective, this document is a collection of that. In addition to that, I was asked to really look at our financials. I was asked to look at our financial commitment to contracts and what we have committed. And so I wanted to be able to demonstrate that the efforts that I've made have aligned with those requests. Okay? But with that, I'll say that I started out this process, and it was a good experience because the staff was excited. And they said for the first time in a long time, they've been engaged by their city managers. There were frontline employees that were pleasantly surprised to be able to have time with their city manager, discuss their contributions and aspirations within the organization. And so within the past 3 months, I'm pleased to be able to say that we have opened our customer service for through lunch. We used to shut down during lunch. We've adopted some financial internal controls, some of which you've already heard about. We've launched our multi-purpose center, the library rebuilt, for new location, the new build. We've landed on a recommendation for a new fire station, which will come before you next month with the fire chief. And we've explored opportunities to put the rec back in Parks and Rec because we don't have a ton of activity here in the city of Fort Meade. Additionally, there's been increased interest in Main Street business opportunities. Several investors have toured city-owned properties along Main Street with me and with some of the other staff. And we've discussed those potential public-private partnerships to bring much-needed opportunities down to Main Street, to include a coffee shop and some sit-down restaurants. Okay? We're doing our due diligence to create a shovel-ready economic development opportunity for a high-powered consumption user, which is our good friends for the data center, which hopefully will add much-needed revenue to the city's coffers. Okay. And then lastly, I mentioned that contract review, the subscription review, and vendor review. We are currently in that, still actively reviewing those items so that we can get a firm grip on contract renewals and identify any areas for consolidation so we can stop overspending or double spending for services. Okay? So, during this time, I tried to push the pace a little bit with the staff while being hesitant to make any sweeping changes, because I learned of the impact of the change in leadership and the transitions on the staff. Everyone that I made contact with was concerned about losing their jobs, being reassigned, about changes because previous city managers came in and made sweeping moves. With that, I've operated with a high level of empathy and provided grace given the workload and the resources available to this staff. Okay? My approach has been to be slow to react, quick to listen, ask questions about policies and procedures, and offer to work together with the staff to solve problems and avoid unilateral policy decisions where possible. There have been times where I've had to make judgment calls and decisions outside of the staff, whether or not they like it. So I've sought to be a collaborator, inspiring the staff, listening and providing real-time feedback where needed. When moments became most difficult, I demonstrated how I wanted others to respond, open-minded and ready to work. And so I'll tell you that as of the transmittal of my report, when I sent it out to you, as of that date, there were no write-ups on my behalf. There were no demotions, no terminations. Okay? The only personnel changes that I made were in April, when I added duties to a staff member to support communications and social media content creation, which is something that was important to this commission. And then also I shifted a staff member from a hybrid operations role into a more traditional function with no decrease in pay, which does not constitute a demotion. With that, my foundation for this SWOT analysis, and for those of you who are not familiar with the SWOT analysis, it is looking at the organization's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It was grounded in my initial staff interviews and engagements. Okay? During these interviews, I was provided with insights to the culture, concerns about turnover, and explicitly warned not to trust people. To date, I have interviewed 2/3 of your staff, and I would like to finish. In those interviews, I asked the staff to share 2 up, that's 2 positive things about the organization, and 2 down, 2 things that we needed to change immediately about the organization. And I'll tell you, it's very significant to note that a lot of the staff members struggled to find 2 good things about the organization in their own words. I paired the staff perspective with my own findings to produce the analysis while being centered on a single objective: increase the City of Fort Meade's organizational performance and efficiency to a point of acceptability within the next 12 months. With a 1-year outlook, I looked at that SWOT analysis. Again, I mentioned that the strengths are internal areas of the organization that provide an advantage that will help you succeed. The weaknesses are internal factors that prevent the organization from reaching its full potential. The opportunities are external to the organization that can influence success if leveraged properly. And then the threats are those external factors that harm the organization, but you cannot control them. Okay? And so in assessing the organization from a SWOT analysis standpoint, I want to tell you the things that are that may be obstructing the success and the productivity of your organization. It's really about fact finding. You got to ask a lot of questions. You got to get in with people, and you got to identify those things. And so what I've done is I've completed the SWOT analysis, and in the table you'll see in bold, you'll see the items that I have highlighted for discussion. I can go through the entirety of it, and I will not this evening. And I'm willing to sit with you one-on-one to talk about some of the other factors that are listed that are not in bold, but I will only cover those things that are in bold this evening. So relative to your strengths, and again, I will touch on a high level of detail. I will not get in the weeds on some of this. But your strengths, I think Fort Meade's story is phenomenal. I think Fort Meade can tell its own story because it is the oldest city in the county. And it gives you that prominence. It gives you the ability to say that. I think you can use that to leverage a rebrand from where you are today. Okay? You tell that agricultural and mining story, and you redefine yourself, and you explore the business case to be more, right? To be more. And there's no reason why you should not have more small business opportunities if you lean into being one of the best outdoor communities in Polk County. Right? If you lean into a business case for exploring ecotourism. All right? And I'll say that I think Fort Meade should be an experience, and pursuing this would help you provide those amenities for residents and visitors alike. The other thing is the location, being located in the county. So the county's strong, the activity is going great. I think that we're experiencing record growth, and by adjacency, we're going to see people come through the door. And Fort Meade is, by and large, it's uncharted territory for business ventures. Okay, so this can really pay off for the residents with infill development opportunities and support the expansion of retail and other key amenities. And then, like it or not, there's a strong sense of pride. You know, I've taken every phone call from residents. I've had a lot of meetings with people, and I'll tell you that people are engaged, for better or worse, and the minor pride runs deep. I think the residents are highly involved and opinionated as it relates to the direction of the city. Those are good things if you can leverage them. I'll get into the weaknesses of the organization. And I think that the capital project planning and work planning leaves a lot to be desired. Need to be able to advocate for projects, and I understand that it is not always practical to plan projects in one fiscal year, but it is clear to me that there has to be compromises to fund projects over multiple years, and that has to be presented to you all as a commission to be able to look at projects beyond just 1 year. And I do understand that, it's that some recommendations have come forward to the commission that have been denied for consecutive years. And it does put staff in a position to just stop asking. That can be a reflection at times where they just back away and they just stop asking for money because they know they can't get it. And so not leaning into the money aspect of it, it's changing the mindset to think about how you can plan projects year over year. The other thing is that there is little procedure in place relative to day-to-day work planning, and I want to be careful because I know there are leaders in this room, and so I want to say that this does not speak for everyone that sits here next to me and behind me, okay? But these are gaps in the organization, and I want to be as general as possible so that I do not call anyone out, all right? But some supervisors do have sector plans to help with the efficiency, but others have yet to demonstrate that capability. And I think that standardizing that day-to-day work planning will ensure efficient service and prevent underutilization of employees. I'll give you an example. We had an employee that quit the organization due to a lack of work, while projects in other divisions of the department needed additional labor and support. Okay? And we knew that. Right? We knew that other folks needed the labor. The other thing is the contract management, the fiscal processes. I think that we have not adequately managed our contracts or monitored them, which has led to expired contracts being converted into month-to-month service delivery. This is unacceptable and outside the procurement protocol. Okay? And I do see that there's a pattern that some responsible department heads, when it comes to ensuring procurement, adequate procurement, they lack the ability to compile a scope of work in order to create a request for proposals. Can't even put together the RFP for the work that they should be doing to procure the goods and services.
Sorry to interrupt. And I want to do this also on behalf of the citizens. Can you explain what procurement is?
Sure. That means, yes, sir. That means that if I need 10 widgets to be able to make a swing, I need to know what those widgets are and how to draft that so that we can then put that service out so that we can buy those goods. And there are people in the space who aren't astute at putting together that scope of work so we can buy those goods at a reasonable cost to the residents. Okay? And I understand that there are several mechanisms to be able to procure goods. We've heard it tonight where we piggyback on a lot of contracts, but you can't always do that, okay? And it isn't always cost effective to do that. In some cases there are, in which this evening we save money on our copy contract by piggybacking. So that's a win for us. Okay? And I'll tell you that the fiscal state is really dire, okay? And I know that we'll say that we don't have money, but it's about how we manage our money. Right? So when I arrived in the organization, we were a year behind on monthly budget reconciliations, which means that we did not balance the month-to-month, end-of-month budget. We were a year behind on that. We were stuck in April 2024. Okay? And so with that, the budget is in dire standing, and these consecutive audit findings that puts the city at risk for further interventions from the state. And they're just simple violations of basic accounting principles. Overspending the general fund. Now, we have to preemptively send letters to the state. We have to put together those letters with our CPA that we hire, and we have to put those on file so that we can preemptively alert the state and our auditors that we've made mistakes that we know that we've made. So, adding to this, I'll say that there were a few checks and balances. During this audit of contracts and subscriptions and vendors, we revealed the city has approximately 300 active vendors, 60 active agreements, 30 subscriptions, and 140 open lines of credit. So,
sorry.
Yes, sir.
At times I may need to slow you down.
Yes.
Just so, can you repeat that?
Yes, sir. 300 active vendors, 60 active agreements, and this is in excess of 30 subscriptions. And those subscriptions can be anything from organizational subscriptions, professional memberships, things like that. And then 140 open lines of credit in which staff can walk into various businesses and buy goods that they need every day. Okay? And so while the number of expired agreements is still under review, I can tell you that staff could walk into these businesses, pick up what they wanted, and they could bill it back later, right? So these practices allow the staff to go into the businesses and be able to grab goods and then bill it back later without confirmation from the AP team. Okay? So Just some, wanted to make sure that we had some verifications in place for that, and so we changed how we approached it. All right. And then the other thing that I have here is the battle between institutional knowledge, innovation, and process improvement. Like most jurisdictions, you all have a good set of staff members who have been here for a long time with their experience. However, I think there should be a balance, but often staff is embattled with one another over the how-to aspect of the job. All right? There's little room left for alternative approaches outside of the way the lead or point of entry within the departments want to execute. There are disagreements that go unresolved, and there are time-saving efficiencies that go unevaluated due to the inability to engage in meaningful discussions, due to the lack of trust and deterioration of relationships. Okay? And I'll tell you, there's indeed a core group of senior leaders that convene, discuss direction, and push others along the path. Those who disagree are often maligned, isolated, and discredited, so those individuals will be viewed as less competent. And so I'm going to talk to you about selective perception of competence. Several senior members approached me about staff members, referred to them as lacking competence and being unproductive. One of those members in question has worked diligently to get projects on track, get people to think outside the box. The other has been working one-on-one with me to reorganize and restructure. And I'll address some of that before I close out, because Ms. Arnold asked a lot of questions on the record that I'd like to answer. Despite this, other employees called for their terminations and viewed them as salary bloat. Meanwhile, senior level counterparts can barely craft reports, put together one-sentence emails, and have zero experience procuring services in their areas of expertise, despite significant time and service. That is selective perception of someone's competence, okay? Because it is a double standard. There are policies and procedures that need to be updated. SOPs need to be updated. General policies. A lot of the policies are verbal, which leads to inconsistency and confusion in customer service delivery. I wish that Mr. Sweeney was still here to tell me about the circle he went around just to put in a sign. Yeah, I was a part of those. Simply put, the city needs to invest the effort in converting historical notes and processes into standard operating procedures and policies that can be taught to junior staff and provide a foundation for day-to-day operations. Staff recently, and this is an example, staff recently received a suspicious package with a foul odor. No process in place, no training. Several additional staff members were exposed to the contents of that package, resulting in a loss of work days for 3 staff, putting everybody in the building at significant risk. The last item in this weaknesses, and again, I want to make sure that I am respectful of some of the people who sit here with me. There are some good people in the organization who are in the wrong roles, okay? And that's what I mean when I say this, right?
If we could stop the noises, the commenting, and just listen to the report.
They're in the wrong roles. They're sitting with a great misconception of their capabilities. And unfortunately, the staff members, they get placed in critical roles without adequate qualifications, and that does not serve the city well. And as I stated, there are department heads who are unable to do what they need to do to perform the functions of their jobs. Staff members have acknowledged the need for pursuing education, professional licensure, and qualifications, yet they rely on that institutional knowledge and experience to carry the day. This skill and qualification gap lends itself to insecurity amongst those staff members, along with the sense of immobility. Thus, there are critical positions being filled by people who tout the ability to go elsewhere, yet they lack the ability to qualify for those roles. In turn, they focus on job security, they are job scared, and they challenge your leadership. Without quality advisors, the result will always be a continued turnover in your city management. A revolving door in city leadership allows the assignment of blame on the previous administration and disrupts your continuity. This gap in qualified managerial and supervisory leadership is paralyzing the organization. There is an absence of quality coaching and feedback,
in goal alignment with the city's mission, combined with the lack of professional growth opportunities for much of your frontline staff. And so I'll give you an example, because the residents pay a hefty price tag for this. Double tax, right? You got no engineer in-house. Therefore, you have to go find one. You got to procure one. You have to hire one to do the job that ideally someone in-house would be able to do. You got to hire a tree cutting service when you have people sitting around who could be cutting trees. On the other hand, you could, let me say this, sir. Mr. Lynch, would you please assist the crowd in maintaining decorum? And if they do not, please remove them from the. Thank you. Yes, sir. So, as I mentioned, recruiting more qualified staff with the adequate credentials would help you with an in-house resource to support critical capital planning and proactive project management. Okay? And so I'll talk about the opportunities as I step away from those weaknesses of the organization. Ecotourism, I think I mentioned it before to you. Outdoor recreation can be embedded in Fort Meade. I think that it would be a great experience and that we should further explore that business case for recreational opportunities along the Peace River as an economic driver for the city. I think that integrating historic walking trails, given the historical context of the city with a focus on historical structures, historical events and functions, and constructing that trail network inclusive of potential self-guided tours will highlight, you can highlight the wildlife, Native American history, and other landmarks and bring visitors to the city of Fort Meade and boost economic opportunities. And then lastly, I mentioned that there's an opportunity to raise the talent floor. And I do tell you there's a sentiment that recruitment is difficult, but I think just like purchasing and procurement, there is simply a disdain for the process and that we just need to put our pedal to the metal. And I think the city would change the fortunes of its frontline employees, frontline staff members, by pursuing more qualified supervision and establishing leadership development within the organization with a focus on investing in staff. Increasing the capacity of senior leadership will effectively raise the talent floor of the organization and allow Fort Meade to move to a higher level of excellence. And then lastly, I'll talk about the threats. Your aging infrastructure, as you heard tonight, you got several emergency repairs, but everything cannot be an emergency. I think that without a real collaboration with the staff and the commission, you know, there will continue to be finger pointing at the commission relative to you all removing key projects for the sake of budget preservation. There really does have to be a concerted investment in and alignment in resources to prevent everything from becoming an emergency. Okay, the budget cannot sustain it. Number 2 here under threats, your audit and revenues. I've touched on this. I will not get in the weeds. I will just say that I'll entertain a motion to hire a finance director immediately. I think that we are 3 months to close the fiscal year. Would it be a budgetary impact? Yes, it would be minor, but I do think that the organization does need a finance director, and it has to happen. It has to happen. You know, the city has operated with one of the highest millage rates in the county. Certainly needs to diversify its revenue sources, and I'm hopeful that some of the projects coming online will help do that. The other thing is the disaster and emergency management. Now, there are a lot of changes that are occurring that will force more responsibility on the states, and I think that ultimately trickles down to the municipal level. The city will need to increase its funding set aside for mutual aid and other services so that it can cover those large expenses up front without having to overspend or wait for reimbursements, which may come after the fiscal year closes. And so you don't want to be in a situation where you overspent because you're dealing with an electric crew that you had to bring in from Georgia. And then afterwards, now you've got to pay them. You can't pay them because you don't have money in the budget, or you have to amend your budget to be able to meet those expenses. Okay? Because we do have to pay those folks. And then I do think that the electric department is overburdened and really needs to be able to plan for its own capital projects instead of carrying the weight of disaster management. And I think it is an undue burden on your electric department.
And then number 4, the small city versus the rural town mindset. You know, Fort Meade is positioned to make progress over the next year with some critical decisions on the horizon. I think there's an identity crisis. You know, we have to be unified, have to determine whether or not Fort Meade wants to remain a rural town that is in economic distress with high poverty, or move into that small city territory where you have the ability to recruit amenities, retail, and the investment necessary to sustain the quality of life for your residents. Okay? And so I'll say that, you know, in closing, I've pointed out to you what the most glaring weaknesses are. I think they are staff-centered, and I do not say that lightly. I think you are at a pivotal point. You need change. You need to reshuffle the deck. I am not calling for any mass terminations or anything to that effect, just a real hard look at how people are being deployed throughout the organization. I understand that the commission is not supposed to get into staff-related matters at that level, into personnel issues. And so I present that before you because you're going to get the phone calls. Right? Just like you heard the gentleman say today. You're going to get the phone calls. All right? If people are not happy. Okay? But to move Fort Meade forward, there must be a balance between continually ignoring the staff shortcomings for the sake of time and service and letting attrition take course for the sake of finding more qualified talent in some key areas. Fort Meade cannot allow itself to be held hostage by these mindsets that distract from the thing that needs to be done. Distractions that divert attention from hard work and manipulate the paths of people that you put in place to guide the city forward. If you want your city to transcend the current state, I encourage you to stay the course and consider a strategic plan in fiscal year 2026 with a deeper dive and development of an action plan to leverage the strengths and opportunities while mitigating the organization's weaknesses. I stop there, and I ask that this report be received and filed, and that there be a consideration for the request to reintegrate the finance director role back into the table of organizations.
So the two things that you just said were the two notes that I took. Well, I took a lot of notes. I took quite a few notes, but the two things that I felt like, that I wanted to address is, we don't have to have a motion to hire a finance director. Now, your purpose in asking for a motion is because the money isn't there.
So because you approve a table of organization with staff positions annually, and so, you know, I cannot go outside of what you approve budgetarily. That TO or your positions, approved positions, they are tethered to your budget. And so, it's Mr. Watts.
So we also have for approval where we approve a list of jobs and job descriptions.
Yes, sir.
And so, and it may have happened, I just have forgotten. But I thought that a finance director was in that approval. Am I wrong in saying that? Anybody know?
It is.
Correct. So
It is, but there was one put in this time. They only allotted for how many other people would be.
okay, and it's for budgeting purposes. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, sir. That would impact your budget.
So we have to approve a finance director.
Yes.
Should. Yes. Yes, sir, you should. And
Now, in doing so that's where my question is.
yes, sir.
The funding for that.
Yes, sir. It's not, listen, the money is not necessarily there. When you talk about recruitment and hiring, this is a multi-month process. I don't know that, I would say that if you wait until your budget is approved, then you'll be looking at a higher date in the new year. And so what I'm asking to do is to be proactive about the posting, the recruitment, so that at worst, you know, and I want to say that you typically end up amending your budget anyway in November because you need to reconcile the annual accounts. And so ideally, we'd be able to find a few $1,000s to cover that role for 1 to 2 months.
Okay.
But, you know, the fiscal year closes 9/30, and I think that if we start it now, you may be able to find somebody by late August, early September. And so it wouldn't be a significant impact to this budget, but it could be, they would be in place for next fiscal year.
Okay. And then also, like we mentioned about being able to poach into other particular funds. Now, so my second part to that is the strategic planning. So that's been something that I've been pushing for a long time. And so I guess it's not necessarily a question, maybe just a comment, is at what point do we move forward with this? And what is the role of the commission in doing so? We're going to require the feedback of the staff, but then that information that is brought to us needs to be accurate so that we can make these decisions that are critical. This is critical, in my opinion. And I hear for Tommy always, it's our wastewater infrastructure that has always given us a problem. And I remember, and this is sad because it go back many, many years, because I spent several years on planning and zoning committee. So this was prior to that, when I was on the Community Advisory Task Force Board, in which we talk about how to use those CDBG funds. And one of the presentations, and this is, I know, well over 12 years, probably closer to 15 maybe, was about the aging infrastructure. Some that had not been updated since 1920s. And so, it's keeping them employed. So as long as we got this aging infrastructure, Tommy will always have to fight and wrestle with that. But at some point, that's just tiresome. So I think we need to move forward with creating, identifying, meeting, whatever we have to do to get a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, whatever we have to do, we need to move forward with that. And so I think that's of high importance to move forward in that direction.
Yes, sir. So if I may, I think I would recommend that you include because typically you do strategic planning with a third party. I would recommend that you put.
Yeah, I don't know how to carry it out, but I'm saying that we need to really focus on this because I've heard a lot of the complaints from the residents that are dealing with some of the issues as a result of this aging infrastructure. And so this needs to be a priority, I feel. That's just me as one commissioner, that we really try and tackle this sooner than later.
Yes, sir. Well, so I want to yield the floor to the rest of the commissioners who may have something to say, but Tommy he's here and he's tackling the aging infrastructure, but the goal would be to put him in a space where he's proactively addressing new infrastructure.
Correct.
Or addressing
Hence my question about
the strategic.
The other thing that we did, how does that propel us in the future?
So I think that's capital improvement planning, separate into like a separate thing that he does, and you want everybody to have that skill set to be able to do that. But in this case, when you talk about strategic planning, this is your overarching vision for the city. And that's why there's so much fighting in Fort Meade, because there's a lack of a unified vision. So you just spend the time to get the vision out and on paper, and then everybody can move in lockstep towards that vision. So my recommendation to the commission would be integrate probably $25,000 to $30,000 into your legislative fund so that you can go out and hire a consultant to do your strategic planning so that it's not on your city manager to do it. The other piece of this is that, I had two goals when I came here for this interim period. One was to balance the budget, and the second was to do a strategic plan. But I yielded that funding for the strategic plan so we could have fireworks on the 4th of July, because that $25,000 had to come from somewhere. And so when you see those budget amendments come before you next month, you have to know that it's a constant, just a moving chairs of where you take money from. And so with respect to the things that are important to this community, I had to yield those funds, and I recommended yielding those funds so that this commission could, go forward with strategic planning with your staff and at your selection for fiscal year 26.
Okay.
Mayor, I would like to add something.
Yes, sir.
One time I would like to remember everybody, my advice as far as the aging infrastructure. As far as the aging infrastructure goes, we're just finishing up a $60 million or however much storm sewer or sewer project out here. That's what infrastructure costs. It's underground, it takes money,
You have to find the grants about how much did you say? 50 million, 5 million, whatever, 6 million.
I didn't know it was that high.
6.1 million.
Oh, I thought you said 60 million.
On 4 years, it's $6 million. It's over, we are attempting to get there.
Yes.
Well, I tell you what, thank you, Mr. Drongo, for your report. It does share with the commission as well as the public, from your vantage point, what we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. As I stated, with you in conversation, I don't think any of us are ignorant of the fact of what you've presented in black and white. We are aware of it. For me, in a sense, the topics that you've addressed here have been discussed previously. Unfortunately, because of whatever, it is what we are still dealing with. And so I just want to commend you for putting this report together. It gives us something factual that we can read, understand, and create a plan to rectify. Although we are limited in what we can do as a commission in regards to staff, it does help us understand how we got to where we are. And so for me, at this time, I was just giving comments on the SWOT analysis. But I would like to make a motion to hire a finance director. I put a motion in for that.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the hiring of a finance director.
Yes, sir.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the hiring of a finance director. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? None, motion carries.
So, Mr. Mayor, that's one part of.
Is it my time?
Well, I still have points of discussion.
Okay.
Before the motion. So so I know we were identifying parts of what was written. Forgive me, as I may be a little bit slower in processing than my colleagues, as I've said before. Okay. We all care deeply about this city. We didn't put ourselves in this seat. The residents, the community put us in these seats. Then we make the decision on who's hired to be city manager, interim city manager. We do that with a vote of confidence that the city manager will carry out the best interests of the city and its residents. I am deeply concerned about much of what is written, and as public knowledge as these facts may be, to sit with them, it brings both heaviness and deep sadness, which is why I just asked the mayor, is it okay if I stand and stretch? We have a responsibility to these residents. And as we look at the journey ahead, and I won't try to restate much of what you've written. I think I've highlighted 20 lines on every page. But what I do want to say and read again says to move Fort Meade forward, there must be a balance between continually ignoring staff's shortcomings for the sake of time and service, and letting attrition take course for the sake of finding more qualified talent in some key areas. Fort Meade cannot allow itself to be held hostage by these mindsets that distract from the thing that needs to be done. I'm going to say it again. Fort Meade cannot allow itself to be held hostage by these mindsets that distract from the thing that needs to be done. Distractions that divert attention from the hard work and manipulate the paths of people put in place to guide the city forward. If you want your city to transcend the current state, I encourage you to stay the course and consider a strategic plan in fiscal year 2026 with a deeper dive and development of an action plan to leverage strengths and opportunities with mitigating the organization's weakness. I want to say that personally, when I cast my vote of confidence for you to come on as the interim city manager, there was an expectancy, there is an expectancy that you will do what is necessary to move the city forward, as well as always the forward thought is the best practices for the residents in this city. This document is damning to me. I've lived in 4 of the largest municipalities in the United States. This is one of the most comprehensive documents I've ever read, and I think we have to, this can't be something that is presented and we sit on it. We have to have a plan moving forward, and I want to restate my expectancy, as long as you are serving as the interim city manager or otherwise, is that you will carry out the duties of the city manager, whatever that entails, whatever those optics look like, that you will carry out the duties of the city manager in the best interest of the city and its residents. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Watts, any? Sorry. Okay. Now, city attorney. I'm sorry.
Yeah, my apologies. Because I did want to address some of the comments that were made. And so, because I want to do it on the record, because, I have not received any phone calls about any of these projects recently. And I remember talking to Assistant City Manager Buller about some of them, but I'll provide a status update. So the Main Street crossover light repairs, we've talked about those internally as a part of the streetscape that is what's coming here. And so, we haven't come up with a solution of how to fix it just yet, or how to fix those lights, but we're not ignoring. Yes, sir.
Was that a project that the city did, or was that the Chamber and Main Street that did that? The city did it. Okay.
And then also with the status on the Patterson Park and the Peace River Park, those grants, staff is actively working those grants. We're actually in a process of determining the scope of work so that we can go out and procure the items that go into the respective parks. So we've already identified the elements that we want in the parks. You just have to go out and buy the goods. And I've expressed to you the challenges in procurement right now. So again, that's the status on those. Relative to your CRA, the lottery is atypical, okay? That lottery process was atypical of CRAs. You don't really see a lot of those lotteries in existence. Working with Ms. Johnson, Ms. Lakia, to completely redoing the entire CRA. She and I just sent Attorney Smith the bylaws, the policy updates, new grant programs for residential, new grant programs for commercial with different limits, interior and exterior renovation commercial grants, with some very specific instructions on the amounts. Our expectation is that we are able to meet with each of you to talk through those changes. We also have a recommendation to reinstate your advisory committee. And so we've laid all that out to make sure that advisory committee aligns with the direction or the appointment process for all the other boards and committees. So we have those things that we want to bring to you to review with you, so you understand those changes, to ensure that we have your support for the July meeting. And the intent is to have that back on the July meeting, or on the July agenda, so that we can then implement those new programs and kick that off and get out in the community and take some applications. So we've been working. Okay? And then lastly, she asked about CRA activity and buying meals for students. I am just unaware of this. We've talked about a grant program, or a portion of our grant monies, in which we would enter into a relationship with Kids Pack to expend some of those dollars that I mentioned to you earlier, that we're going to have $3 million left over. So we're looking at other ways to spend money. It is not in the CRA. There are CDBG dollars or other grant dollars that we're looking at that we have to get out the door within the next year. And so that's what we're doing. We're talking about how to solve problems. And so it is concerning to me that when we have conversations internally about how to solve community problems, even though we have not arrived at a decision, somehow people external to the organization know about it. Right? And so I just want to put that out there. But nevertheless, that was incorrect information, and we are working through that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Back to. Oh, you didn't vote on that? We've been doing a lot. I entertain a motion to receive the report. The SWOT analysis. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive the SWOT analysis presented by interim city manager Drumgo. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. None, motion carries. Now, back to report of the city attorney.
Thank you so much. I do have about 4 to 5 things to go through with the commission. So I'm going to start off on a positive note and read something that I prepared from city commissioners, city staff, and members of the community. I want to begin by sincerely thanking the commission for the trust and confidence that you placed in me by appointing me as the city attorney. It's truly an honor to serve the city of Fort Meade, and I'm deeply committed to doing what's in the best interest of this city, who you all call home. I don't take the responsibility lightly. I'm incredibly humbled and grateful for this opportunity. I want to thank each one of you for allowing me to be involved at this level. This moment carries significant personal and historical weight for me. To the best of my knowledge, I may be the first African American attorney to serve as a city attorney in this capacity in Polk County. See me smiling because I think it is definitely something to smile about. So to be stepping into this role during the month of June, just days away from Juneteenth, makes this moment even more profound. As a first generation college graduate and the daughter of a painter and a cosmetologist, this is more than a professional milestone. It's a testament to perseverance, hope, and the power of opportunity. This is trailblazing, and I fully understand the magnitude and the responsibility that comes with this seat. And it's this seat that I keep going back and forth to try to look at each of you all, because my duty and my obligation, I say that over and over, is to the city of Fort Meade. My duty and obligation is not to any one person that is sitting here. It's not to any one person that's sitting on the dais. It is only to the city of Fort Meade. So you have to keep that in mind when I'm moving forward and giving you any legal advice. So even though I understand that this is trailblazing, I don't take it for granted. I may be the first, but that I know of, but I certainly hope I won't be the last. And it's my sincere hope that I'm able to pave the way for others. I do want to take this moment and mention that there are several other prominent African American attorneys that have made significant contributions to the landscape and legal realm of Polk County. We had the first African American judge, that was the Honorable Timothy Coon. He also practiced at the state attorney's office. We had Carla Foreman White, who was the first African American female judge in Polk County. And we also had Cassandra Denmark, who is a current sitting judge in Polk County, but she was the first African American director of legal affairs for the Polk County Sheriff's Office. And Walter Kelly served as the first African American assistant public defender. We don't end there. Kenneth Glover was the first African American assistant state attorney in Polk County. And additionally, David Wilson III was the first African American attorney in Winter Haven, Florida. But he was significantly known for founding and being the first president of the Virgil Hawkins Bar Association. And Mary D. Hardaway was also a prominent attorney who invested back into the community. He worked pro bono, and he also restored rights of individuals. So as we move forward, I hope that I have demonstrated my commitment to equipping you, the commission, with the tools and the support that you need to govern effectively. I'm here to serve, to lead with integrity, and help guide our city, go Miners, into a brighter future together. So that's my personal thank you that I want to say. Next, and moving along with a few things I've already shared with the commission, And I think that most of the public, if you've been in these meetings, you know that we have 3 active cases in Polk County regarding foreclosure cases. One of those cases came up for a tax deed sale, and that went through, and I believe that the clerk got the surplus paperwork and is in the process of either submitting it or has submitted it, so we should be getting some funds back from that. It does take a while, and it's a process, there are time limits to it, but as soon as we have a report on that, we'll get that to you, but that will bring in some additional dollars back into the city. I know, hopefully that's a positive, since we keep talking about dollars going out, that'll come back in. The other 2 that we have in foreclosure are coming up. I have a pre-trial for one tomorrow, and that will be set for trial. And that trial would be so that, we could get that property for sale as well. It's never a good thing if we have to move towards selling someone's property. I understand that. So I don't take that lightly either, but it is a process, and it happens, and the process is in place, and as long as we follow that protocol, that's where we're at on that. And the final one, we should be submitting that as well for a final judgment to ask for the court to set that for sale as well. So those are the 3 that we have that are active for the foreclosure that I personally handle. We do have 2 other cases that I am not the attorney on, but I am very much involved. And the lead attorney on that would be Mr. Brian Koji. He's our labor and employment attorney. You guys have contracted with him in the past on certain other matters. He is board certified. So anytime we have any labor and employment matters or personnel, I usually do kind of collaborate with him on those, because I want to make sure that I'm giving his input, because I don't know it all, and no lawyer should claim to know it all, but we should certainly be able to find you the answer that you need in a timely manner. And so that's what we give you. So with those 2 cases, they are moving forward. I think we discussed on those. We do have some mediations that are being set and that are coming up, and some depositions that are going to be taking place starting this month. There are 2 cases all the way through, I believe, early September. So yes, so those are for those 2 cases right there. We are not yet at what we would consider to be, settlement or anything of that nature. I do want the commission to know that if we were to get to a point where I felt that we needed some settlement negotiation advice, and I need to get that from you, I'd probably ask for a closed meeting, and then we would do so. That means for the public, you guys would not unfortunately be able to attend, but however, there will be a court reporter there, and that could become public record subsequently thereafter. So it's limited circumstances that govern whenever you can have a closed session. But since the public is here, I thought they should be able to know that. So does anybody have any questions on those cases? I think I tried to brief you on all of those so that you're well abreast of the matters and where we're at with those. Are we good to go on those? Good to go? All right, perfect. Now we do have one additional case that we just got that's going to go into litigation. We were served with the summons, I want to say back on, it may have been the 28th, or it was actually the 27th of May. And we were named as a defendant, as well as a local LLC who owns an apartment complex here. Apparently there was a slip and fall type injury there, and that case, the attorney just chose to file suit. So what will normally happen sometimes is they'll engage in any type of negotiations. They'll open up a claim for the claimant's adjuster and talk that through and try to work it out. And then PRM would, let us know, and they would assign an attorney for that. So that summons was forwarded over to them. To my knowledge, they have not assigned an attorney to handle that. But once they do, I'm pretty sure that attorney will be in contact with myself, and then I'll disseminate that information to you as I have it. So right now, it's just the summons. We have 20 days to respond along with the other defendant, and then we'll do that. But that's the only information that I have to give for that at this time. And so that concludes all of our cases that are actively in litigation at this point, and the cases that I know of. I do have 2 other things that I do need to mention just before we go. We have 2 complaints that were received concerning the interim city manager. The commission has been fully advised of the nature of these matters. As legal counsel, I am requesting guidance from the commission on how to proceed. A framework outlining potential options was presented to the commission, and that was developed in collaboration with the labor attorney that I referenced a little bit earlier. This framework was prepared with careful consideration of your applicable legal requirements, as well as the city's policies and procedures that are in place. It's important to know that we, as legal counsel, cannot direct the commission's actions. Rather, the commission must determine how they wish to proceed and communicate that to us, and that will be as a whole. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, in reference to what, Attorney Smith, has alluded to about, one of the complaints regarding the interim city manager. I've carefully, considered the information, based upon, statements, and at this time, I'm going to motion that since Mr. Drumgo contract is due to end July 23rd, 2025, that we allow him to remain and work through his term of his contract. That's it. That's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. As stated, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
May I amend that motion? Do I have to go with this one?
It's still open.
Okay, I would like to amend the motion to say that, to allow Mr. Drumgo to work through his contract July 23rd, 2025, with no further investigation.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second as stated. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Let it reflect a 3-2 vote. Motion carries.
I do have another item that I need to bring before the commission.
Okay.
It was referenced earlier in the interim city manager's, report that our current city manager has not been with us, I believe, since January 17th. In light of July 23rd being fast approaching, the commission will need to give some direction or have some discussion surrounding, a city manager. I do want to let you know that you can't actively seek another city manager at this time because we have a city manager in place. I believe I spoke with each of you, maybe 3 to 4 months ago about how, you could proceed as well in that position. So we would need to have some discussions about that. An option would be to come back for a special meeting or anything of that nature, but we could not move forward with another city manager. We have a current city manager. Correct.
Question, Mr. Mayor. Is a special meeting necessary, or is that something that can be discussed tonight and a motion potentially be made this evening?
It is not necessary. It can be discussed tonight and a motion can be made.
Okay.
All right, in regards to, the city manager that we do have on record, it is unfortunate set of events, that we have to come to this decision. I am electing, my opinion is that we should, terminate the contract with Mr. Edward Bloom, the current city manager, so that we have an opportunity to, actively pursue a new city manager.
Is that in the form of a motion? Or
Well, yeah,
is that the motion?
that would be my motion.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second as stated by Commissioner McCutcheon regarding terminating the contract with Edward Dean.
Effective immediately.
Effective immediately. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. One motion carries.
Get your comments, man. Are you ready through your comments?
Yes.
I have no question of the attorney.
Okay.
Now, assuming that, based on the vote we just took with regards to, the city manager and the complaints, and voted not to have an investigation, and that means public records are available.
If there's no,
If we voted, there would be no further investigation, correct?
Correct.
Well, technically, you never launched an investigation. This commission never,
I'm not gonna do it right now.
no, we,
Listen to me.
Hold on.
No, you didn't go to election.
Let me intervene. At this point, Mr. Watts, you have the floor. Go ahead.
I'm not saying we already had started one. What I'm saying is she needed direction on how to handle these.
oh, I said no further investigation.
Yes, you said no further investigation. That's all I said. With that being said, then the all records involved in this are open for public record request.
So if we
Is
have,
that true?
Senior Outland, so if we have a public records request that comes before the city, it will normally go to the deputy clerk or the clerk, and it will be fulfilled. If there's something that is an active investigation, then that will be held until the investigation is concluded. If there is no active investigation on the matter, then we would have no reason to not comply with that public works request. Of course, we would look in and see if there are any exemptions or anything of that nature before we send it out. But assuming that none that exists, then we will be compliant with the public records request.
Okay. And Commissioner Kutcher, you care to respond?
Well, I mean,
Or were you done?
I was done.
Okay.
I thought he was alluding to something else.
Gotcha.
But just, for the record, in regards to complaints in regards to our interim city manager, this commission never launched an investigation. Technically, we never launched an investigation. Technically, I was never even informed of any complaints from anyone in the HR. So therefore, if an investigation was conducted, it was not authorized by this commission. Because Mr. Drumgo reports to this commission. We are his boss. So if there was a complaint, it should have come to this commission. One commission or two do not speak for all five of us who are a body. Okay? So being that never took place, technically there was never an investigation open on Mr. Drumgo. All right, so I just want the record to reflect that. This commission never authorized any type of investigation on Mr. Drumgo.
Good. It was good. I told her if we were doing it on the night.
All right, I'm done, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor.
All right, so for the future of agenda items, Commissioner Scow, anything?
No.
Commissioner McCutcheon,
I'm done.
Commissioner Williams.
Oh, but I will continue our conversation. We have responsibility as a commission. We have the total authority over the sexual harassment claim. And, so it is our authority. And, we're not doing the justice to the, employees that have the situation by not taking appropriate action.
Okay, so,
And I have no future items.
all right, thank you. And for the good of the order, any feel-good announcements?
No, I think it was you. Yes,
So, for the good of the order, as noted, I've been absent as I've been away for work and unable to physically be here, although I've tuned in via YouTube. I want to publicly thank the community and publicly thank my team for the support that was given for the Soul Music Festival. Many of you all may not know the weight that it takes to produce.
Excuse me. You're still in me.
Oh, okay.
Many of you all may not know that the weight that it takes to produce an event of that caliber. It is something that I am extremely proud of. I want to tell you we had people from as far south as Miami and as far north as Georgia that came in. And their responses about the love that they felt here in our small town, including Grammy Award-winning singers that we brought here, made me feel really proud about our hometown and the love that I know that runs deep. I want to thank my team for the hard work that it took, and we look forward to whatever the future holds. There are other municipalities that are saying, hey, come bring this festival to where we are. But there's absolutely no place like home. And we feel that, we thank you, and we look forward to the future. I just wanted to publicly say that to everyone. Thank you for your support.
And I would say to that it was an awesome time from start to finish. So thank you for putting on such a event that make us all feel good. We had a great time.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I apologize for going back, but I just wanted to let the public know that the decisions that we make are not done lightly. Sometimes they're unfavorable. And I think I've said this before, but we are put here to do hard things. Every decision that I make, and I would hope that my fellow commissioners are making in regards to the betterment of our city is just for that. We say we love our city, so love is a verb. So we have to put some action behind that love. I want to see our city thrive. I want to see our city grow. I want to see my grandchildren, my children come back home. I want them to have a place that they are proud of. I want this county to look favorably upon Fort Meade. There needs to be unity in our community. This has gone on too long. So if you really love your city, sometimes you have to even put your agenda to the side to do what's best for the people that we say we love and we care about. And that's really the reason why I'm here. It's for my love for my city. I want to see us grow and glow. I really want to see us unified. We all have like faith. But if we can't get along down here, how can you expect to make it up there? And so I think it's very important that we look at the overarching goal of what this commission is attempting to achieve. If we continue the way that we're going, the money that we need from Tallahassee, from Washington, D.C., all these other places, we're not going to get it because we're not settled in who we are and what we want. So I think that's important. It's important for us to work together truly. We may not all agree. But as long as the end goal is being accomplished, that should be enough for us sometimes to just come together and support each other. So the decisions that we make, we're not dismissing anyone or anything, but the decisions that we are making are based upon facts. And that's just that. So that's all I have, and that's for the good of the order. We're going to get this thing right.
Okay, so with that said, our next regular commission meeting will be held July 8th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Being that we don't have any, I think CRA will come before us, so that would be at 5:30 or 5:45. Do we know? Or 5:30?
5:30.
Okay. With the CRA meeting at 5:30 and regular scheduled commission meeting at 6 p.m. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Good night. Thank you for staying to the end.
No, I am, but I'll be